Hi, fellow seekers. I hope everyone's doing well. We are going to continue on with the Hannah Payne trial, which we know has already occurred, and she's been sentenced and all that back in December. But due to the request of some of you, I am going through the trial. Definitely not as lengthy at all as Darrell's or maybe a lot of people's, but I thank you all who suggested it. I know Amanda Page was one of them, and maybe somebody else was too. But I find it I always hate to say interesting because it's like there's nothing, I guess it is interesting, but these are always sad cases because, it's really lose-lose for everyone. But it is interesting just to think about how people are thinking and what the hell were they thinking, and and that brings me to Hannah Payne's attorney. Okay, I'll leave him alone. I'll leave Attorney Smarmy for you all to decide. You can be the judge, even though he's not on trial. But like I said, he's on my trial. But anyhow, we're going to continue on. The state's going to call the next witness. This is an eyewitness. His name is Cameron Williams. And let's get on with it.
Cameron Williams.
Oh my, look at Hannah. She's digging efficiently through the accordion folder. I don't know why that annoys me. I think it's just because she annoys me, and so does Mr. Tucker. Mr. Tucker. As long as he doesn't talk about the boy and the bow and arrow again. I was not a fan of that story. And Hannah, yeah, Hannah's. It's a sad thing. I mean, she's 21 when this happened. I think she's 25 now. Yep, now she's flipping in the folder. And that, of course, is her family. Oops, sorry, I paused it. Here we go. Oh, that was her family back there. I mean, I wonder if she weren't on trial. I know I keep talking about how her face looks so miserable, which I understand. But she looks so mean. I mean, do you think that was always the way her face looked before this?
If you would please for me stand back up and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give before the court in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
You can take your hand down.
I'm just going to ask that you project to that mic so everyone can hear you and the recorder can hear you.
I'm a little short.
Breaking the tension. I'd hate to be up there, guys. Would y'all be extremely nervous if you had to testify? And have any of y'all testified before? Let me know in the comments below.
See if that works better without the feedback. Okay, if you would please state and spell your name for us.
Cameron Williams, Cameron. Williams, Williams.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm self-employed.
And what do you do?
I own a truck company. I drive a semi.
And would you drive your semi back to Georgia in order to be present for trial today?
Yes.
Where did you live back in May? Not the address, but in general, where did you live back in May of 2019?
Across from Point South Middle School, neighborhood called Bradford Park.
And on May the 7th of 2019, did you happen to be in the area of Forest Parkway, Riverdale Road, near the interstates and all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you in that area?
At the time, I was attending a real estate seminar that I was actually running late to.
What time were you supposed to be at the real estate seminar?
I believe sometime around 5 or 5:30.
And do you remember the day that we're talking about, the May the 7th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was that seminar that you're trying to get to
Virginia Avenue.
in Atlanta?
On the other side of the airport, yes, ma'am.
And so can you...
It may be at East Point, Jersey, though.
And can you... I'm going to ask you to step down and look at this map, and if you can just kind of generally, it's on the ground, I'm going to get it up there in a minute, kind of generally your direction of travel on that day.
All right.
Ms. Williams, if you could just, using this map, if you see with Phoenix Boulevard and Forest Parkway, and Riverdale Road, and the McDonald's over here, interstate up there. You could kind of just in general show us the road and your kind of direction of travel.
I was coming from Riverdale Road this way, and the light was red right here. I got into the left lane.
Speak up for us.
I was on 139, Riverdale Road. The real estate seminars on the opposite side of the airport, so it was on Virginia Avenue.
So you were just trying to come straight up Riverdale Road through this intersection?
Yes, I was going to actually go around this curve around the airport.
Okay.
Yes.
And were you alone in your car?
Yes.
Do you recall how the traffic was when you were trying to get through that intersection at this particular time of day?
Yes. The light was green, but traffic wasn't moving.
And at some point, did you make it through the intersection but moving slow?
I actually drove into the left lane to bypass the traffic that wasn't moving. And when I approached the intersection is when I seen Miss Hannah.
Okay. So you go around some of the traffic in the left lane.
Yes, ma'am.
And what's the first thing that draws your attention to there being something going on just past that intersection?
Well, what drove my attention to begin with was that the light was green and nobody was moving.
Okay. And then what happens next?
I ended up approaching the intersection and then seeing that everybody was stopped out watching Miss Hannah Payne outside of her vehicle.
What did you observe? I mean, obviously you didn't know her name at the time, but what did you observe happening that drew your attention?
I just seen her outside hitting on his window or his car door, and that's what made me just pull out my phone.
Okay. And describe what you see as far as where is Miss Payne standing when you see her?
Well, her back is towards me, so I didn't see her face or anything, but she was actually standing at the guy's driver door. That's what I saw.
And what did you see her doing at that driver's door?
Yelling, hitting on the window, hitting on the door, whatever she was doing.
From your angle,
From my angle.
it appeared that she was hitting on either the window or the door.
Yes.
Could you see if she had anything in her hands?
At the time, no, I did not.
What else happens next?
I ended up pulling out my phone to record. Honestly, I hate to say it like this, but it was like another day in Clayton County. And as I was recording, I heard a gunshot.
Now, did you see any sort of struggle between the driver of the car that she's standing at and Miss Payne?
Yes.
Okay, describe what you saw.
It just looked like a little pushing back and forth.
And you indicated that you pulled out your phone and recorded. Are you kind of moving past it as it's happening when you record?
Yes, I was actually traveling past it when I was recording.
And you would agree that there's some sort of struggle or tussle between the two people?
Yes, I ended up getting out to check on the guy after I heard the gunshot.
When you recorded what was on your phone, were you able to then view that recording?
Yes. I actually sent it to an officer on the site that same day.
Okay.
I don't remember his name, but if I could go through my email, I could probably tell you, find it.
Okay, but you had a chance to look at the recording that you were able to capture on your phone.
Yes.
Did you alter that recording or delete it or add anything to it in any way?
No, ma'am.
So the video that you provided to law enforcement is what you recorded on your phone?
Yes.
So once you made that recording and you realized that there was a gunshot, what did you do?
The recording, I just sent to the officer at the scene. Obviously, when it first happened, I got out. I parked my car in the Miller Street and got out and checked on the gentleman.
Okay. And did you notify officers that you had a video?
I did.
But were you able to stay around to write statements and have a full interview on that scene?
I didn't stay around to write a statement because I was running late for a seminar.
And did you let law enforcement know that's what was happening?
I did send it to an officer on the scene, though, to his email, yes.
And did you let officers know on the scene, I have this video, but I have to be to this class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you eventually come to the Clayton County Police Department to give an interview about what you saw?
Yes, somebody, I don't know the officer's name at the time, but somebody did call me probably about a couple weeks later.
And let's be honest, were you kind of reluctant to be involved at that time?
Honestly, it didn't matter to me, honestly, if I'm being honest.
Do you recall telling law enforcement that you didn't really want to go to court, but that you were willing to provide the video?
I'm a little biased because my dad's an officer, so.
And you told law enforcement that as well? Do you also recall telling law enforcement that once you learned that the gentleman had passed away, you thought you should bring the video?
Yes.
And that your interview with law enforcement, was that back in 2019 sometime after?
I believe so. It wasn't long after it happened.
And so you back in 2019, you turned over the video and made your interview. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, in the meantime, have you had a request of me to assist you with a traffic arrest that you have had?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you ask me?
I asked you, could you put in a word for me or just help me out for something that I had dealing with last summer as far as the DUI?
Okay. And that was something that happened in 2022.
3-4 years afterwards.
Okay. And you are aware that I don't
Yes.
work in traffic court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have I made you any promise that I will get your case dismissed or anything like that?
No, you just said you would put in a word for me.
Okay. And would you recognize, in addition to the video that you took, would you be able to recognize still photographs from that video?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
Would you be able to recognize portions of that video?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 20. It is marked as the cell phone video of Cameron Williams. You've already indicated that you did not alter or delete or have do anything to adjust the video that you took on your cell phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I'm showing you State's Exhibits 21 and 22. Do you recognize those as portions of the recording that you made, as still shots of that recording?
Yes, ma'am.
And do those fairly and accurately depict at least 2 moments of the video that you took?
Yes.
And at this time, State with tender states 20, 21, and 22.
Any objection? Okay, admitted without objection.
And at this time, the State is requesting to publish. Yes. State's Exhibit 20, but I'm going to take down the map first.
You may publish.
Oh, Hannah.
While that's getting pulled up, Mr. Woods, you would agree there's a voice in the video, and that's just you making a couple of comments. Is that correct?
Yes.
The voice that we hear is you.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not you had any contact with the defendant, Ms. Payne, after the incident occurred?
No, no contact at all. I just seen her in the middle of the street, but no conversation.
That you can recall today?
No, we didn't have any conversation.
Okay. Well, let me remind you. Do you recall talking to law enforcement indicating that she asked if you had seen what happened? Does that sound familiar?
She did ask me that, actually. She did.
And is that the extent of the video that you had taken and recorded in this incident?
Yes.
Oh, you have. Can we show display State's Exhibit 21? Wait for that to go away. Then click on the photo itself. Okay. And it should be on your screen as well, is that correct?
Yes.
And so do you see, in the photograph, do you see what appear to be some hands, the hands of the driver of the red truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you got it pretty well there.
And if you would display State's Exhibit 22. And it's in State's Exhibit number 22, do you see the firearm displayed in the defendant's right hand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Have you had the opportunity in the last 4 years to watch? Have you watched your interview?
Watched her interview?
Your interview.
My interview? No, I have not.
Okay. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions to see if it kind of jogs your memory about a couple of things that you said back then.
Okay.
And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
All right.
Okay. You may.
Dear God, I hope she doesn't start crying. She cries every time. But I know it's not for the victim, it's for herself.
All right, now, just kind of try to refresh your memory just a little bit. Do you recall talking to the detectives indicating that you believed that the two, Ms. Payne and the driver, might have been tussling over the gun.
Yes, I do.
Okay. You indicated there was a tussle. I just wanted to make sure you were more specific about that. What do you remember seeing in that regard, if you can recall? I know it's been 4.5 years.
It's been a long time, but it's just, trying to go back thinking 3-4 years. What I mainly remember the most is when I'm riding past, it's just a physical between the two of them, but as far as their arms.
Okay.
And just her yelling. That's pretty much the most part.
Did you ever see the driver of the truck, and her yelling, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Did you ever see the driver of the truck get out of the vehicle?
No.
Did you ever see anything in his hands that would that you would have seen as a weapon?
No.
Judge, we are going to, with the court's permission, we are going to replay the very short video.
Any objection?
No.
You may proceed.
And thank you. With that, Judge, the state does not have further questions.
Any cross-examination, Attorney Tucker? Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been sitting for a while, and so at this time, I'm going to give you a break. It is now 10:20. I would ask that you return at 10:45 so that we can resume. All the instructions I've previously given still apply.
So it looks like they were on a break. They came back from their break. It looks like they're still waiting, but I noted that the cameras panned over to Mr. Herring's family here.
Okay, all right. So I'm just going to inform our witness. Mr. Williams, there's a request to refresh your memory about your interview with the police officers, and so we're not going to continue with your testimony at this juncture. In terms of cross-examination. So an investigator from the DA's office is going to take you back there so that you can refresh your memory about the interview, and then we're going to bring you back for cross-examining to occur. Yes? Okay, thank you so much. So you may step down.
How can you say no to that voice, right? Okay, so they're going to bring him back after he's refreshed. His memory's refreshed. And I guess they'll bring up the next person.
Okay, the state may call its next. Well, let me bring the jurors in. Mr.
Guess I need the jury.
Yes, bring the jurors in, please. to apprise the jurors of what is occurring. At the point that we went for break, we had one witness, Mr. Williams here, and Attorney Tucker was about to cross-examine. We're going to bring him back for the cross-examination, but we're going to go ahead and take another witness at this time, just to keep you informed of what is occurring. Okay, Chief Assistant, you may proceed. You may come over.
Thank you. State calls Christine Lavoie. If you would, thank you. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give before the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can take your hand down and have a seat and get situated, please. And if you would, please introduce yourself to the jurors.
My name is Christine Lavoie, Christine Lavoie.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Division of Forensic Science.
And what is your job description?
I'm a forensic DNA analyst.
What is your educational background for that position?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology from Mississippi University for Women, and I also have a Master of Science with a concentration in Biochemistry from Mississippi State University.
And once you received your degrees, do you also receive training from the GBI itself?
Yes, when I was hired by GBI, I underwent a year-long training program which consisted of written, oral, and practical exams and a competency exam.
And do you receive continuing education and training at the GBI?
Yes, I do, every year.
And tell the jury a little bit about your experience and your caseload as it relates to forensic biology.
So I'm a forensic DNA analyst, so I'm assigned DNA cases each month to test.
And approximately how many DNA cases have you tested over the course of your experience?
About 1,200 cases.
And how long have you been with the GBI?
Almost 9 years.
And have you previously testified to your results and your findings?
I have.
And have you previously been tendered as an expert
Yes.
here in Georgia?
Yes.
And at this time, the state would tender Ms. Lavoie as an expert in forensic DNA analysis.
And after that impressive background, no objection.
She's admitted as an expert in forensic DNA analysis.
Can you tell the jury just a little bit in general about what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the genetic blueprint that makes us who we are. We get half from our mother and half from our father, and it's unique to each individual, with the exception being identical twins.
And where in the body, or in what substances, where can DNA be found?
DNA can be found in all nucleated cells, so it can be found in your blood, semen, saliva, and skin cells.
And you may have already answered this question, but what makes it valuable for identification purposes?
It can uniquely identify an individual.
What are the general steps and procedures involved in the DNA testing process?
The DNA typing process is a multi-step process. The first step is called extraction. This is where we take a cutting of the evidence item, place it into a test tube. Into that test tube, we'll add chemicals that will break open the cells and release any DNA. Then we determine how much DNA is present. Then we make multiple copies of specific regions of the DNA. And then we place it onto a genetic analyzer, which will separate the DNA based upon size and detect it. And from that, we would get a DNA profile, and we would compare that DNA profile to any reference samples.
And are all DNA testing results peer-reviewed?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
It means another analyst will look at all of my worksheets, my data, and they will draw their own conclusions and ensure that they agree with my findings.
And so every DNA report and every DNA conclusion is peer-reviewed.
Yes.
The procedures that you just described with the extraction, isolation, the quantification, amplification, and the typing, are all of those procedures generally accepted in the scientific community?
Yes.
Are those procedures reliable and reproducible?
Yes.
And are they based on valid scientific theory?
Yes.
And in this particular case, did you follow the procedures in an acceptable manner?
I did.
As it relates to this case, did the crime lab receive? Y'all differ. Are you buccal or buccal?
Buccal.
You call them buccal swabs, okay. Did you receive buccal swabs of the defendant in this case?
I did.
And did they appear to be properly sealed?
Yes.
And was there any evidence of tampering?
No.
I'm going to just show you what has been admitted as State's Exhibit number 5. Do you see on State's Exhibit number 5 any indication that you received or opened or processed the swabs that are contained therein?
Yes.
And where is that?
My initials.
And that would be, for the record, under the number 5, but upside down, and you see the CL. Is it H or A?
CA.
CAL and a date. Is that correct?
Yes.
In this specific case, did the GBI Crime Lab conduct testing on swabs that were obtained from the ridged area of a firearm used in this case?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of explain what your role was as it relates to this case.
So I performed the DNA extraction, and then I determined if there was a sufficient amount of DNA to move to the amplification step to try to get a DNA profile, and there was a sufficient amount. So I was able to generate a DNA profile.
From the swabs from the gun, is that correct?
Correct.
And when you talk about the ridged area of the slide of the gun, can you kind of generally where that is on the firearm?
It's the top portion of the firearm.
And so when you were asked to perform the extraction and the other steps that you just described on the swabs from the firearm, what did you locate? Did you locate a profile?
Yes.
Okay. What were your results?
So I obtained a mixture from those swabbings, and a mixture just means that there's more than one person present. And that mixture was too complex for me as a human analyst to interpret. So it was forwarded to something called TrueLil, which is a software program we use for mixtures, and another analyst would have performed that analysis.
And even though there was a mixture, were you able to tell how many profiles you believed were there?
When I visually looked at the mixture, there were at least 3 individuals.
And were you able to make any determinations about the major contributor on those 3 profiles?
So I was able to get a major female contributor from that mixture.
And kind of describe for the jury what that a major versus a minor contributor, what you do with those.
So the major contributor is the person who contributes more DNA, and the minors contribute less.
And that this might sound like a weird question, but does that, if you're the major versus the minor, does that have any bearing on how much they may have touched the item or anything like that, or is it just related to how much DNA they left?
It is possible that they could have touched that item more.
The major.
Correct.
And you indicated that you forwarded the profiles that you received for a different type of analysis. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you conduct that analysis?
No.
So the extraction of the profile from the swabs of the firearm and determining that there's a mixture, that's the extent of your work in this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
No further questions.
Any process examinations?
Senator Lavoie?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you ever see the end results of what, when you sent it off to Joel to do the testing, did you ever see the end results?
No.
So you're going off what you initially saw before you send it off to be tested by another means of testing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that there was a major contributor that was female.
Correct.
And was there, from what you could see before we sent off, was there a minor contributor of a male?
There was.
Was there another minor contributor of another male DNA?
There was another minor contributor. I don't know if it was male.
Okay, but there was one that did classify as male.
Correct.
And do you know, and it was just basically from a swab, so you don't know where from the gun that DNA was taken?
From the slide area.
The sliding area. So the minor contributor that was male.
I'm sorry. The mixture that I obtained came from the slide area.
Okay, so it's fair to say that there was a major contributor on the slide and then a minor contributor on the slide, and one was female and one was male, correct?
Correct.
And then you weren't sure where the other contributor had come from, correct?
It would also come from the slide. Only the slide was swapped.
Okay, so the trigger was never tested.
That's correct.
Okay, and you didn't see the end results, so you can't really testify to that, can you?
That's correct.
No further questions.
May this witness step down and be excused?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Step down.
Case calls Cynthia Seguin. If you would raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give before the court in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You take your hand down and have a seat. And once you're situated, if you would please introduce yourself to the jury.
Yes, my name is Cynthia Seguin. That is Cynthia Seguin.
And how are you employed?
I am employed with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Division of Forensic Sciences. I am currently the Southwest Regional Crime Laboratory Assistant Manager, and my specialty is forensic biology.
And so Southwest Lab, that means you're in Moultrie right now.
I am in Moultrie.
Were you employed, how long have you been with the GBI?
18 and a half years.
And back in 2020, you were with the GBI.
Yes.
And where were you?
I was at the headquarters laboratory in Decatur as an assistant manager in the forensic biology section.
And being in the forensic biology section, what specifically is your job description?
Okay. I receive evidence from state and local agencies to look for the presence of bodily fluids, mainly blood, semen, saliva, and I perform DNA analysis on those items. I issue reports and testify in court.
And what is your educational background to hold that job?
I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in biology from Georgia State University, and then I received extensive training from the GBI in the detection of bodily fluids and DNA analysis that included working with mock samples to simulate casework and oral and practical exams.
And you also received continuing education and training. Have you received that throughout the time at the crime lab?
Yes, we are required to get at least 8 hours of continuing education in the DNA field.
And what is your experience as far as your caseload? Approximately how many DNA typing and comparison analyses have you done?
Oh,
Y'all always love that question.
I lost count. Probably about 10 years ago, I hit about 1,000, so several thousand cases.
And have you testified in court regarding your results previously?
Yes, I have.
And have you been tendered as an expert?
Every time, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would tender Ms. Seguin as an expert in forensic biology and forensic DNA analysis.
No objection.
So admitted.
In your position at the crime lab, have you had the occasion to conduct what is known as true allele analysis?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I'm going to spell out true allele for our court reporter. It's one word, capital T-R-U, capital A-L-L-E-L-E. Did you receive training on how to conduct that particular analysis?
Yes, I did. I was actually part of the team that brought true allele analysis into the GBI, set up all the policies and procedures, and then I've actually also trained other analysts in performing true allele analysis.
And have you testified to true allele results in the past?
Yes, I have.
All right, so we've talked about it. What is it? What is true allele?
So true allele is just a computer software system that helps us analyze complex mixtures that we're not able to separate into the contributors of that mixture by hand.
And so if there's more than one profile on a particular swab or on a particular item, sometimes the profiles can become too mixed up to separate.
Yes, so a lot of DNA just gives us a single person's profile, and we're able to do a direct comparison to known reference samples. When we have two people's DNA, we have a mixture. Some mixtures we're able to actually separate into a major contributor and a minor contributor, but once we start getting multiple individuals or certain other types of mixtures, we're not able to separate them out manually, and we use this computer software to help us do that.
And what does the software do? What does it help us do versus a traditional comparison?
So it's going to try to determine what are the best explanations for the data, what DNA that's in that mixture is most likely to be contributed by the major person and to a minor person, and then it compares those explanations that it made to DNA reference samples, and it tells us how more or less likely that person is a contributor to that mixture than an unrelated person in the population.
So it's comparing it to how likely it is that this person is more so than a random person in the population.
Yes.
Okay. Are all DNA results, including the true allele results, peer-reviewed?
Yes, they are.
Are the procedures that you just described for true allele, are they accepted in the scientific community?
Yes, they are.
Have they been accepted here in courts in Georgia?
Yes, they have.
Are the procedures reliable and the results reproducible?
Yes, they are.
And are the procedures based on valid scientific theory?
Yes, they are.
And in this particular case, did you follow the procedures in an acceptable manner?
Yes, I did.
In this case, what was processed using the true allele system?
Okay, I had DNA data that was already processed by Ms. Lavoie that was obtained from the swabs from the ridged areas of the slide from gun.
And did you also have known DNA samples from two individuals to compare?
Yes, I did.
And would those two individuals be Kenneth Herring and the defendant Hannah Payne?
Yes.
Why did this case qualify for true allele analysis?
This was a mixture of at least 3 individuals, and so therefore it was automatically sent to true allele.
And what can you tell us about the 3 contributors as far as how many major, how many minor, and the gender?
There was at least 1 male, and there was a major female contributor.
And what were your results of the true allele analysis in this case?
Okay, so first a match was identified between that DNA data from the swabs of the ridged area of the slide from gun and Hannah Payne. A match between that DNA data and Hannah Payne is approximately 300 sextillion times more probable than a coincidental match to an unrelated person in the population.
And y'all, you know exactly what question I'm asking next. How many zeros are in 30 sextillion?
I believe it's 24.
Okay.
Oh.
And there's not even that many people on the planet.
No, there's about 8 billion people, and a billion has 9 zeros, and a sextillion, like I said, has at least 24 zeros.
So the major profile that was female, you did the true allele results to Hannah Payne.
That is correct.
What, if anything, was your result when you compared the minor profiles to the known samples?
So when I was comparing it now to Kenneth Herring, I got inconclusive results because I did not get meaningful match statistics, which just means that the comparison to Kenneth Herring put us in our inconclusive range in our statistics.
And why would there be an inconclusive range? Tell us about that.
So when we were doing our analyses to introduce true allele into the laboratory, we were looking to make sure that all the people who we made mixtures, and we made sure that all of the people who were supposed to be in the mixtures were included, and all of the people who were supposed to be excluded were excluded. We did have a range of statistics where we were not having those true contributors show into the mixture, or those true exclusions show into the mixture, and so we call that range our inconclusive range, and we're not able to say whether or not a person is or is not a part of that mixture.
Examiner
Seguin.
Seguin, okay. So when you're doing these testing and it was sent off, you weren't present when it was tested, correct?
I did not do the original DNA testing, that is correct.
But you did receive the results, and you're obviously very capable of reading those results. And you said that there was a major and then a minor. The major was female and the minor was male, correct?
There was at least a major female and at least a minor male,
And
yes.
these were all on top of the slide, correct?
From where that description is, the ridged areas of the slide from the gun.
Okay. Now, does this analysis actually try to test to see if the one DNA is on top of the other, or does it not get that detailed?
We're not able to determine that. It just all gets mixed together.
Okay. And in this mixture, you said it was inconclusive, which means you can't rule out that it was Mr. Herring's DNA, but you can't confirm with, say, 24 zeros that it was him, correct?
Yeah, I cannot say whether or not his DNA was or was not present on the gun.
And a major contributor would be somebody who's possibly handled the gun before. How many times does it, and I know if you can't answer it, please just let me know, but a major would be somebody who has, handled it a couple of times, like taking it off and putting it down or holding it.
Yes, the more somebody handles something, the more their DNA is going to be left behind.
Okay. And then a minor could be somebody that briefly grabs it and then it would leave DNA on it.
Yes.
And that's the DNA, kind of what the conclusion you came to from these analysis?
I don't really have any conclusion about who grabbed it for any amount of time. I just know that Hannah Payne was the major contributor on the gun, and I did not get conclusive results for Kenneth Herring.
Okay. So you can't, and I'm not sure what this machine does, but you can't say conclusively that the male DNA was on top of or the minor was on top of the major.
That is not something we can do at all.
It's just kind of a blend.
Yeah.
So just two DNAs were blended on the top, or
There were
possibly three.
Yeah, actually three DNA, all blended together on that part of the slide. Yes.
And a third DNA probably could have been recognized by being handed the gun and briefly holding it, or...
Yes, anybody who had previous contact with the gun could have left their DNA behind. Yes.
No further questions?
Any redirects from the statement?
Briefly. And that could be any males that you couldn't conclusively say that it's Kenneth Herring's male DNA. It could be any other males that touched the firearm as well. Is that correct? Yes.
Anything further?
Yes, it's right.
Well,
But it was concluded that it was two separate male DNAs.
I know that there's at least a major female and at least one minor male. That's all I'm able to determine from the DNA.
Okay, but you said there was possibly another male DNA, which would be categorized as minor.
So there is a third profile there. I can't say if that third profile is the one that is contributing the male DNA. All I know is there's a major female because that shows the most DNA, and at least one of the two minor contributors is a male. That's all I can say at that point.
Because you didn't have a swab to compare the two minor males, you just came with the one female, one male, and possibly a third.
Correct.
No further questions.
Do you have any other questions for this witness?
Please.
Yes, she may be excused. Thank you. We can call this next witness.
I'm going to check on the status of Mr. Williams.
Okay.
That's the witness that we have available for cross-examination.
Okay. Do you have another witness, or you're going to have to wait for him to complete
I
review?
have very lengthy witnesses remaining, so I would ask that we finish Mr. Williams prior to.
Okay.
And we request the second round.
Okay. So we'll just wait for him to be granted. Okay.
Oh, Hannah. Hey, it's just, I guess they're trying to find the eyewitness guy who was up there, and he's going to be cross-examined by Attorney Tucker. Okay, come on, people. Wouldn't you love to hear what those two are talking about as far as her case?
Okay, Mr. Williams, you were previously sworn, so Attorney Tucker has the opportunity to cross-examine you this time.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. How you doing? Well, my name is Master, I'm the attorney for Ms. Payne. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Now, the clip that we saw was very quick, correct?
Correct.
Did you see what ensued before you videotaped?
Just a lot of arguing, yelling back and forth in the intersection.
Okay, and you saw that by the time you were there, the two cars, had they already collided, or did it appear it collided?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you kind of veered to the left and was driving by him, correct?
Yes.
So that lane of traffic was kind of clear. You could go to the left and just continue on.
Like I stated earlier, I actually drove around a couple people to get through the intersection. I was running late for a class.
But did you find it was fairly easy to kind of just go around them?
In a way, after driving around a couple people, yes.
Okay, and there was no kind of cars blocking you from being able to go around them?
No.
Okay. Now, that video was kind of quick, so I have some more still pictures to have you identify, if you don't mind.
All right.
If I may approach Your Honor.
Yes,
And these are in chronicle order. I'm sorry about that language.
Okay.
I just asked that you not whisper.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Whispering again.
I was explaining to him that my 14 doesn't really look like a 14, but I'm going to expect 14.
Slippery, slippery.
There you go. It's chronological order.
okay. You can just explain that out loud.
Okay. So as I stood there and explained to you that the first one starts at 14 and then goes in chronological order, do you see those pictures?
I do.
And are they a fair and accurate representation of what you recorded on that day?
Yes, sir.
They're no way hindered in any way or altered or a misrepresentation of what your video showed.
I recorded these.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to tender defense exhibit number 14 to number 22.
Any objection from this?
I would just like there's clarification because he indicated they've not been altered in any way, and one of them is very clearly zoomed in. So I just want that clarification to be made. I don't have an objection to the photographs being tendered, but I want it to be made clear that one of them is one of that's altered, but it's certainly zoomed in.
Okay, and the record will reflect that. Your response?
I don't think he's gotten to it yet. When he does, he can make that observation.
Okay.
But otherwise, I have to say does not object to the admission of the photographs.
So I've noted without objection. That answers the
Thanks. And if I may call this then to the jury. Haven't seen that. Kind of refresh your memory what was going on so quickly.
I mean, I remember the video fine. I'm kind of confused with the pictures. It's the same thing I've been looking at.
So, but these are fair and accurate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, beginning when you were pulling up. So as you were pulling up on the scene, maybe it's a better. Is that a better view? Okay, as you were pulling up the scene, that would be a shot that you took of your camera from the front of your vehicle, correct? Through the
Correct.
windshield?
Correct.
Okay, and you said at that time you saw them struggling, you heard them yelling. Is that a fair, accurate?
Yes,
depiction of
there
what
was
happened?
definitely an argument and a tussle.
Do you see the vehicles? Were their position?
Yes,
And were their position? Does it appear that they had collided?
it may look like that.
But you weren't present when that occurred, correct?
I didn't see how they got to that point. No, I wasn't there for that.
But so it's fair to say when you came into where it is that you can see right through that point.
When I approached them, she was already out of her vehicle at his door.
And I'd like to ask back to that. As you refreshed your interview with your memory with the interview with the police officers later on, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall telling them that she was at the window, banging on the window with the gun?
Yes.
Okay. And at one point, Julian said that it appeared that he and her were struggling over the gun, correct?
Correct.
Would this be a picture that depicts when you saw them struggling over the gun? Or is it just the whole struggle was so quick?
I think you show other pictures in that pile that could be a little bit more clear.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might approach her on.
Yes, you may.
You got to pull out which one.
She's definitely right there at the window.
That may be the best one that he has.
Is there another one that might help show that picture?
I mean, out of these photos, that may be the best one that you have. But there's definitely a tussle when I approached them.
I might approach her.
Yes.
Now you say that may be the best depiction of them struggling over the gun, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you saw the Miss Payne on her tippy toes right there, correct?
I mean, that's the only picture I'm looking at.
Okay. And it appears that her left
Look at the
shoulder
DA's
shirt
expression.
is being pulled, correct?
What?
I don't know if I can necessarily say that.
Okay. Did you see Miss Payne's shirt that day?
I mean, I honestly wasn't paying any mind to her clothing.
Okay. You didn't see it after the incident?
Oh, God.
Honestly, so after the gunshot went off, I actually went to go check on the gentleman in the truck. I wasn't worried about Miss Payne.
And in this incident number 16, from what you see there, does it appear that the shirt is being pulled on the left shoulder?
I see them both tussling. That's what I see.
And
Don't talk about the shirt.
17, does that help give a better picture of a possible pulling of the shirt?
I'm not trying to be difficult, but he's trying to get him to say something that he has very clearly indicated that's not what he sees.
That's
He
exactly
can't say that.
what I wanted to say.
I put a brand new picture in front of him to help refresh his memory. Either he sees it or he doesn't.
And I'm going to sustain the objection. I think what we've had to do is to get him to say something, and he's already clear in his response. So I'm going to sustain the objection.
In this tussle that you saw, it appeared both parties were pulling and tugging on each other.
Yes.
And you said at one point it appeared they were pulling and tugging on the gun.
At first, I originally didn't see the gun. After I watched the video several times, that's when I kind of came to that conclusion.
And that is what you told the police in your interview, correct?
Correct.
And during this period of time, did you see anything else in her hand?
No.
Did you see something that was close by to her on the ground?
Nope.
if I may. This was the picture that was zoomed in on. So you see, that's fair and accurate representation of what you videotaped, correct?
Yes, I remember her picking up the shell casing during this.
Yeah. Zooming in on that right there. And that being basically the same picture, just zoomed in a little bit better, correct?
Okay.
Do you see what's there at her feet?
No, I do not. I don't know what that is.
It's kind of hard to see.
Is it fair to say during the video that it appears she's picking up something right there?
Yes, she picked up a shell casing.
Okay. And is this a continuation of the video that appears what she picked up is in her hand?
Okay.
Does that appear to be a shell casing?
I believe the shell casing was picked up in the video. I think these photographs are. One, real blurred, and then two, you wouldn't be able to see a shell casing through these photographs anyway.
And so you're not familiar if she picked up a phone or a shell casing?
I'm not saying that she didn't.
Oh, I'm just saying, you're saying you don't know what she picked up?
No. No, I mean, to my knowledge, she picked up the shell casing from the video that I seen. And I'm not saying that she didn't drop her phone, but you know.
But you did not see in the phone how it got to the ground?
No, I wasn't even paying attention to it, honestly. Never thought about it.
And you say she picks up the shell casing because you didn't see what was picked up?
When I watched the video for myself, and I've seen it a million times, it looks like she picked up a shell casing.
Okay. How many shots were fired?
One.
So there'll be one shell casing that she picked up, correct?
Correct.
And during this interview with the police, do you recall telling them that she asked you to stay by to tell the police what happened?
Correct, she did.
And she was asking basically for your assistant to give a accurate depiction of what happened?
Yes.
Okay.
She, when I got out of the car to go check on a gentleman, she asked me, did I see what happened? Could I be a witness?
And she didn't seem to be wanting to run or to
No,
get away?
not at all.
Okay. And you said later on when the police arrived, they walked up to her, she pulled the gun off her hip and handed it to the officer?
She cooperated.
Okay. Was he a male officer?
Yes.
And he didn't have any gloves when he took the gun, did he?
I'm not sure.
No. But I'm trying to put words in his mouth
She
again.
didn't say if he had gloves or not.
I can't recall.
Okay. But he did take the gun,
Yeah, she cooperated with the officers.
and he was a male officer that took the gun.
Yes.
Now, also in your interview, you said when they were tussling around, you could hear what they were saying back and forth, correct?
No, I did not say that. I could hear Miss Payne. I couldn't hear the other gentleman. I could hear her just yelling stop, and I'm assuming that she was yelling stop over their tussle, but I don't have anything else.
So you heard her say stop, you were yelling.
Yeah, I heard her yelling. Yes.
Okay. But you're not sure what she was yelling stop about?
I'm not sure at all.
But the tussle was continuing to ensue when she was screaming stop.
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect for this witness?
Nothing further to say, Judge.
Okay. May this witness be excused?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams.
That didn't help Hannah any, in my opinion.
Does the state have another witness that it intends chance to call before lunch, or is this a good time to
This would be a time to break so that they don't have to immediately stop their testimony in the middle, or in the beginning.
Is she crying? What's she crying about?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 11:50. I am going to go ahead and give you a lunch break. I will ask that you report back by 1 o'clock this afternoon so that we can move forward with our case. As always, the instructions that I've given to you still apply. Hope you'll have a good lunch, and we'll see you back out tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, I suppose maybe she's crying because she was hoping that this last witness was going to be a witness for her. But it sounds like she was asking a few people, and there he was trying to and there he was, the witness, trying to render aid to Mr. Herring, who had just been shot, and she's sitting there asking about him staying back to be a witness for it. I guess she... At the end of the day, the gun went off and the man died. End of story. Okay, so who's a better paper shuffler? Hannah or Darrell Brooks? Maybe you don't... Well, I can't see him very well either.
At least you can bring the jurors in. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. I hope your lunch was good and that you're ready to listen to the additional evidence that will be presented this afternoon. Chief Assistant, you may go ahead and call your next witness.
Thank you, Judge. The state calls Detective Tracy Moore. And if you would please remain standing and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give before the court in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You can take your hand down and have a seat. And if you would please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Detective Tracy Moore. I'm with the Clayton County Police Department. I'm currently in the Criminal Investigation Division. I have been in that role it was 6 years in November, and I've been with the department it'll be 10 years in February.
Well, thank you for answering the first 7 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought so.
Okay, let's move
I'm
on.
sorry.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it. How long have you been a police officer in general?
It'll be 10 years in February.
And are you post-certified?
I am.
And were you post-certified law enforcement officer back in May of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I was following along, you have also still been in CID in 2019, is that
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And just, what is CID?
The Criminal Investigation Division, we just investigate different types of crimes that can't be handled right there on the road.
So do you occasionally then respond to scenes after the uniform division has tried to handle what they can handle?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you working and on duty on May the 7th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
As it relates to this particular case, did you respond to the actual scene of the incident, or did you go somewhere else as part of your initial duty?
I did not. I went somewhere else.
And did you respond to Southern Regional Medical Center?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Is it common at the Clayton County Police Department Criminal Investigations Division for multiple detectives to be assigned tasks for one case?
Yes, ma'am.
And were there multiple detectives doing various things as it relates to this particular shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you respond to Southern Regional Medical Center around 6:50 p.m. on May the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the purpose of going there?
To view the victim of a gunshot wound.
And to determine his status?
Yes.
Once you were there, were you able to confirm that Mr. Herring had in fact passed away from his gunshot wound?
I was.
And as a response to that, did you then contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigations to set up the autopsy that occurred?
I did.
In addition to confirming the status of Mr. Herring, did you also assist in executing search warrants of the two vehicles that were involved in, of Ms. Payne's vehicle and Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Your Honor, as I understand, these are leading questions. I understand trying to get the details out, but this was kind of the compound that was leading that evidence that had not been brought in, was brought in question. I would just ask to curtail it back to the leading question.
Your response?
That was a very open-ended question. I asked if she assisted in executing a search warrant. I didn't tell her what the answer was, which would have made the question leading.
So I'm going to overrule the objection and go with the question.
Did you assist in executing search warrants on the defendant's vehicle and Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where did the execution of those search warrants take place?
In our CSI bay at our police headquarters.
And would the execution of that search warrant, would there have been photographs taken during that?
Yes, ma'am.
Show you what has been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 23, 24, and 25. Did you photograph the contents and then the exterior, portions of the exterior of the defendant's vehicle?
Well, the county photographer did, yes, ma'am, but yes, I was present.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you look through 23, 24, and 25 to determine if those fairly and accurately depict things that you observed during the search of that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the state would tender 23, 24, and 25 in this time.
Objection.
Even though she did not take the pictures, I think she's identified them, so
Admitted without objection.
I'm going to publish that.
Yes, you may.
As it relates to State's Exhibit, well, that's not correct. Take that out. Now, just a moment.
Yes, you may.
Was there ammunition that was recovered from the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what is depicted in State's Exhibit number 23, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, were you aware as part of this investigation that there was some contention that the defendant's vehicle and Mr. Herring's vehicle had made contact prior to the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you therefore look for any possible damage to the defendant's vehicle?
I did.
And using State's Exhibit number 24, Is there some scratch or smudge that you documented as part of that damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also locate some potential damage near near one of the tires?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that damage what is depicted in State's Exhibit number 25?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also photograph some items and some things in Mr. Herring's vehicle as well?
We did.
Have photographs. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit. Look through State's Exhibits 26, 27, 28, and 29.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize the contents of those exhibits?
I do.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the state of Mr. Herring's car during the execution of the search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
Under State Tenders, State's Exhibit 26, 27, 28, and 29.
Any objection, Attorney Tucker? Okay, admitted without objection.
Were you able to make any general observations about just what I would call the state of the interior of Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
What were those observations?
There were tools and that type of thing. I believed he was probably a contractor or did some type of handyman type work.
And were there a lot of tools located in that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you agree that it was a rather cluttered type vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
As it relates to State's Exhibit number 26, was there what appears to be a blood stain in the front, in the driver's seat?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that depicted in State's Exhibit number 26, where the ruler indicates?
Yes, ma'am.
And was a general photograph taken from the doorway of Mr. Herring's vehicle as it relates to State's Exhibit number 27 to reflect a lot of items?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And as we're looking in, would you agree, can you just kind of, since the record can't pick up what's in the photograph, can you kind of describe what you're seeing in this photograph?
We're seeing a lot of items, different kind of items. There was some trash in there. There was definitely tools in there. Just kind of clutter of all kinds of things.
And it looks like you see what looks like maybe some cables,
Looks like jumper cables to me. Yes, ma'am.
a cooler, a briefcase, things along those lines.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that just a little bit closer up, reflected in State's Exhibit number 28?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you photograph additional tools in the back of Mr. Herring's vehicle as well?
Yes, ma'am.
That supported, would that have supported what you indicated earlier about your belief of using tools?
Yes.
And using State's Exhibit number 29, can you just describe what we're looking at?
A lot of hand tools and a drill. They're just miscellaneous type things you would use to fix things in a home.
And is it common practice, and is it actually policy to document the things that are located in a vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you do that specifically as it relates to Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm approaching with what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit number 31. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 31?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is State's Exhibit number 31?
That's a vehicle inventory. Anytime we tow a vehicle, we would list what is in the vehicle so that for multiple reasons, just to document what's there, and then if the person's getting their vehicle back, to make sure that nothing went missing from the vehicle, from the tow yard or whatever.
And is this the vehicle inventory that you conducted for Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And does it contain your signature reflecting that you're the one that created this list?
Yes, ma'am.
Statement tender, states exhibit number 31.
Any objection?
No objection.
Admitted without objection.
And if you could just locate, read the list of items and what you documented about Mr. Herring's vehicle.
The items that were left in the vehicle that seemed to be of value: a blue basket with miscellaneous clothing, miscellaneous yard tools, scissors, knife, miscellaneous vehicle, car care tools and objects, a blue cooler,
Okay.
miscellaneous items of no value, a black briefcase, and there was currency, $9 in the center console, and then I'm denoted there was heavy front end damage on the vehicle and body damage as well.
And you mentioned that there were miscellaneous yard tools, including a scissors and a knife. Where were those located?
Those are in the back seat, ma'am.
Just one moment. I have no questions at this time for Detective Moore.
Any cross-examination, Attorney Tucker?
Oh boy, here we go. You know it's gonna be good. He's gonna try to put words in her mouth.
Good afternoon, Detective Moore.
Good
Max Tucker, here with Miss Payne. I noticed you were able to look at the contents of the vehicle that Mr. Herring was in. Is that correct? And you did an inventory
Yes, sir.
and the pictures that are tendered, if I may publish them to the jury. You said these would be the miscellaneous. We gotta have glare. Maybe not staying. Okay. Those would be examples of what you said, miscellaneous tools and whatnot
Yes, sir.
in the back seat. Or was that in the back compartment?
That's going to be in the bed.
The back compartment of the bed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this would be right there.
It's upside down, sir, but it's the bed.
I'm trying to block.
There you go.
What's issues with putting things upside down?
I'm trying to block the other seat. All right, and that would be the back seat.
Yes, sir.
And there's a cooler right there, correct?
There is. Yes, sir.
What was inside the cooler?
I don't recall, sir.
Did anybody look inside the cooler?
I'm sure we did.
In your inventory, you didn't make any reference to the cooler?
If you could show me my inventory again, I believe that was denoted on there.
Okay. If I may correct.
Blue cooler, yes, sir, it's listed.
So in that inventory sheet, you usually write down things that are important, correct?
I wouldn't say important things that may have some value to them. Like if it has no value, we don't really write it down.
Okay. And this appeared to have some value to it, correct?
I mean, it would, yes, it would, if you sold it, it would have some value.
And the contents would either increase or just leave the value of just the cooler, correct?
If it had contents in it, yes, sir.
And nobody checked to see the contents, to your knowledge?
I assisted in the search, and we do a thorough search of the vehicle. I don't specifically remember opening it, but we look in we would look at any bag or anything that could contain something else in the glove box, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, but nothing was written about the contents of the cooler.
Correct.
Okay. Now, there were other pictures that were taken of the contents, and if I may, trying to reduce the number of pictures we use, but I won't lie.
Come on, get your stuff together, Attorney Tucker. What I have here are some other pictures that were given in discovery of the contents.
Yes, sir.
So you could review those. Does that appear to be a fair and accurate representation of the photographs of what was found in that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And they don't look like they've been altered. They look like the similar photos that either you or the county photographer took.
The county photographer would have taken them. Yes, sir.
But that is a fair and accurate representation of what it appeared in that vehicle.
Yes, sir.
At this time, Your Honor, I would go to tender defense exhibit 23, 24, and 25.
Any objection from the state? Admitted without objection.
Published.
Yes.
So this being defense exhibit number 23. This appears to be clutter that is in the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Are there other items in there that you would think have any kind of value or could be helpful in an investigation?
There's tools, which we've already denoted, but yeah, there's tools in there. There's certainly some type of saw in the floor,
And that saw was in the front seat.
in the floorboard, well, kind of propped up on the seat, yes.
So it was, that's,
That would have been the passenger side, sir.
so that's a fair accusation of where the saw was when you went to the truck or when you looked into the truck?
Yes, sir.
And does that appear to be easy accessible from the driver's position?
Yeah, it would be.
Is there anything else you see in that picture that may be of value? That could have helped the investigation?
I see a cell phone, and I don't see, no, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay. And what color is that cell phone?
Red.
Is there anything else red in that vehicle?
There's some type of, I don't know what it is, plastic thing that looks like maybe a flashlight without the head on it.
What about near the floorboard? That appears to be caps.
At the very bottom, yes, sir. Those, I would call them orange, but yes.
Okay, what those orange?
Yeah.
Those orange caps, what they appear to be.
They would appear to be the cap that covers the tip of a sharp object, like a hypodermic needle or something like that.
And were any of those caps collected?
No, sir.
And anything else of value that you see in there?
I mean, I can barely, in the center console, I can see the money in the center console.
Okay. Between the cell phone and the flashlight.
I see a bag.
Okay. And were there other bags throughout the rest of the vehicle, inside the vehicle?
You would have to show me the pictures to refresh my memory. However, there was a lot of trash in the vehicle, so there's a lot of things in the vehicle.
Well, that is exhibit number 24. And you said there were contents within this area right here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there appears to be a cap here, correct?
I'm not sure, sir.
Well, what is that, whatever that is, what is that laying on top of?
The money, there's money, lottery tickets, a lighter, something red, cigarettes, I think, a cigarette pack.
And if I may approach again, Your Honor,
Your name?
I think sometimes that's not even good. And can you see that? Is it a cap or not a cap now that it's gotten closer?
Honestly, no, it's cylindrical. I'm not sure, sir. It looks red. The other things look orange to me, so I could not. I don't know if it's a cap or a pin or what it is, honestly.
Okay, and what is it laying on top of?
Lottery tickets
Is there something of a blue color there that's lying on top of?
on top of it. Yes, I thought you said on top of. Yes, it's like a little small bag.
And did y'all collect those little small bags?
No, sir.
So you felt that that was not important in the investigation?
No, sir.
And the little bag that you're referring to is right here, correct?
Up a little bit, but yes.
The blue little bag.
Correct.
Were there any other baggage that you saw within the contents? And I'll bring it closer so you can see.
I do see another one, yes, sir.
Okay. And was any of those, and what does it appear to be to you?
Like a Ziploc bag type bag.
And that type bag was not collected either, was it?
No, sir.
And in the investigation, really wasn't much collected from this vehicle, was it?
I believe the only thing that I would have to refer to my inventory sheet, but I believe the only thing that we did take from Mr. Herring's vehicle was a blood swab, DNA swabs.
Now this is exhibit number 25. Now was that found within the vehicle?
It was
And where was that found within the vehicle?
in the back seat.
Okay, in the back seat where it was accessible? Was it underneath some of those buckets? Whereabouts?
It was, I believe you could see it if you want to bring the other picture back up from the back seat, but I believe you can see it in that photo. It would have been behind in the back seat, kind of in the center. Yes, sir. That's the one. But it's upside down, sir. There you go.
Oh my gosh, she keeps getting them upside down.
I don't know if they can see if I point on here, but if you see the yellow and black jumper cables or whatever that is,
Over here?
yes, it would be to the bottom left of that.
Right around in here?
Yes,
Okay. So there's a gap here between these two chairs, correct?
there is.
And it's kind of in between that gap, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you collected that, did you keep it as evidence? Or did you just take pictures of it?
We just took a picture of it.
Okay. And you didn't feel that that was something that could assist your investigation?
No, sir.
And those caps to the to those needles, y'all didn't collect any of those?
No, sir. I believe the only thing we collected were DNA swabs from that vehicle.
I may approach.
You may.
What I have here is defense exhibit number 26. If you can look at that, please.
Yes, sir.
Does that appear to be a fair and accurate representation of what you saw when you approached the vehicle to do inventory?
Yes, sir.
And it does not appear to be anything altered or there anything moved as you saw when you arrived.
Yes, sir.
At this time, Your Honor, I would tender defense exhibit number 26.
Judge, I'm not going to object to the exhibit. I just want there to be clarity that this was not one of the photographs taken during the execution of the search warrant. This is from when Mr. Herring's vehicle was on scene. So I don't mind if she can recognize that's what it looked like, but this is not a photograph, as I just pointed out to Mr. Tucker a moment ago. This is not a photograph taken for the execution of that search warrant. But I don't object to the photo coming in.
Okay, so the photo is admitted without objection.
Madam, I'll lose it to the jury. Now, in this photo,
On there. It would appear there is plastic either beside it or coming from the pack.
and plastic in a form of a,
I can't say for certain it's a bag, but it would appear that that thick kind of plastic.
and in your investigation of this vehicle, you didn't feel that was valid or important to take in or collect?
No, sir.
Okay. And when you started this investigation, what were you looking within the vehicle for?
We were looking for evidence of what had occurred on the side of the road at 285 and Forest Parkway.
And you were aware that there was an accident prior to the incident, correct?
I was, yes, sir.
Okay. And the accident included a truck, which is photographed here, the contents, and a semi-truck, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
How much do you think that truck weighs, the Mr. Herring truck?
I don't object at this time. I cannot fathom what the relevance of this could be.
Your Honor,
That would be
if we can approach, I can explain it to the judge.
You may approach.
Oh my gosh. Well, while they're approaching, I just got to say, he is really digging. I think Hannah even knows that she's toast. But why all these questions about why did you think it was significant to turn it in for evidence? What evidence is he talking about? Mr. Herring was the one who was attacked by Hannah, chased down and attacked by Hannah. I have a knife in my car, not necessarily for protection. I have knife and scissors, things like I do things outdoors. But it's certainly not a bad idea to have. But what point is a knife? Yes, he could have reached to the back seat and got it out. But there are no indications. Well, so far we'll see Hannah's injuries in air quotes. Nothing about a knife. He didn't stab her with a knife, so why would he take a knife in? Why would they take a knife in for evidence? What were the other things? What was in the cooler? And then how much do you think the truck weighs? Well, look at his family. They are just probably just look at them. Bless their hearts. I don't think I see his wife there. It might have been just too much for her. Or maybe she's been there some days and some days not. Or maybe I just don't see her in this video. But this is just, I bet they're just sitting there thinking, because really, and I know as a defense attorney, you have to do the best you can, but Attorney Smarmy is just really putting poor Mr. Herring on trial, like he's the defendant, and he can't even speak for himself. Now, was the truck cluttered? Oh yeah, it was cluttered. I've been prone to some clutter. eventually do clean it up. But I mean, you can't judge. I don't think he was judging anybody on clutter, or anybody was, but and then the caps of the needles that he probably used to inject himself for his diabetes. I mean, it's just like, it means nothing. At the end of the day, Mr. Herring never got out of his car. Hannah pursued him. She should have minded her business, stayed at the first accident that she wasn't even involved in. And that's what gets people in trouble. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm done with my ranting for now. It's just sad that they've had to wait this long, and now they have to be subject to hearing Mr. Smarmy.
It gives a better and a closer look at what the contents of the console were, correct?
It looks about the same to me.
Okay, and what do you see in those?
I see money, lottery tickets, cigarettes. I see the bag, a lighter, something round and red. I'm not sure what that is.
What appears to be coming from that cigarette pack?
Oh gosh. He's really digging. Bless your heart, Mr.
May I see the photo in person again?
Tucker. I mean, is the judge going to allow the woman to guess, the detective to guess how much the truck weighs? I wouldn't know. I would have no idea about those things. Hannah she must know. I've heard people or I've seen them on these, when they do the live feed to the courts, the people on the chat, a lot of them were talking about criticizing her for wearing a cross, just saying she's doing that to make herself look good. Well, I can't criticize her for that. I wear a cross. But I mean, I do. But I get what they're saying, if maybe that's not really something that she did. I mean, I would say, I do kind of come from a religious background. I mean, I was raised in a church and all of that, but I'm more spiritual. I do believe. Anyhow.
And to clarify, you never went to the scene of the accident. You went to Southern Regional, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so you didn't see any of the accident.
So you see, he didn't win that over, how much do you think the truck weighs? I don't even get that. And the judge, that sweet voice judge, he gets sustained so many times. Doesn't get to do his stuff. I mean, every once in a while he does, but not often, as if you haven't already noticed.
Accident or any of that, you went to the scene that was the incident after the accident.
That's correct.
Okay. And as you were testifying, if I may, this picture here when you were making references to the cigarette pack and the plastic coming out is right here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that is a cigarette pack?
Newports, yes, sir.
Okay. And do you see any cigarettes in that cigarette pack?
From that angle, I cannot.
Okay. But you can see the plastic.
Yes.
So, and as you testified earlier, those contents were not taken into custody.
They were not.
Okay.
Why would they be?
And so, and you didn't take the picture, but somebody else did, but it was not requested either from you or the other investigators there to take evidence like that into custody, correct?
No, sir. I assisted with the search, so I looked at everything in the car and there was nothing to take as evidence.
So these little baggies that you saw, you didn't. And the
Look at the DA.
Were relevant.
No, I did not.
Now,
I'm sorry. Oh, look, co-attorney Hannah. Hannah High Horse. Oh, I don't know. I'm feeling very irritated with everyone right now. Anyhow, it's like, what baggies? What are you talking about, the baggies? What do they think? What are they trying to say? We already know the toxicology report came back. He was clear for all of that stuff. Now, is he trying to say that he has drugs in there? And again, what does that matter? If he did, even if he did. I don't know. Can someone tell me why? What would he want? Why would he want the little baggies taken in for evidence? What is in the baggies? Or did Hannah see something and tell him? I don't know. He's annoying. He's annoying as hell.
Now later on, you were at the precinct, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Payne was present, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And during that interview, I'm sorry, during that time.
Oh, he's trying. Look at him. Look at his. He just looks smug and oh, what's the word? Y'all, come on, help me think of some more adjectives other than smug. And I hate to judge people, because many times I've looked at somebody and thought they were one way, and I was completely wrong. Like, really judged them negatively. But there's just something about something about his look that looks slimy, underhanded, dishonest. I don't know, because he's just. I get sometimes when you're a defense attorney, you have to really pull things out of your butt, but he's going into the butt, up into the throat, digging in the sewer. I don't know what he's trying to come up with, but it's not helping Hannah at all. He got nothing. Does Hannah and her family really think he's serving her any justice? It's an interesting case. Not interesting. I say interesting. I probably used that earlier in this video, but I hate to say interesting because it's not, because someone's life was lost. Somebody's lives, the families be changed forever. Okay, smarmy.
So, jurors, I'm going to instruct you to disregard the question that was previously asked by defense counsel. Attorney Tucker, you may proceed with your next question.
But tread carefully.
Let me mark these real quick.
He seems very disorganized, doesn't he? Putting the pictures in upside down. Maybe he's doing that on purpose to waste time. But to me, it's not very effective. It would certainly lose my faith in him if I was looking for an attorney to defend me. Oh my gosh. She looks like she is worn out from that man. I can see why. See, look at Hannah taking her notes. Has she been participating quietly in her case? I guess there isn't a law against it. What the hell is she writing down?
I may approach.
May I approach?
Oh my God! If I were seeing the witness and every time he said, "May I approach," I would just I would be cringing and get away from me. I don't know. I don't like his vibes. That's just me, though. I'm not, obviously, I'm no one as far as an expert. I'm just going by my gut, and
Does those appear to be photos that you took of Miss Payne?
I had the county photographer, yes, sir.
I like how she says "I."
And are those
instead
fair
of,
and accurate
I had to come.
representations of the photos that you requested the county photographer to take?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this time, Your Honor, I would request to enter exhibits 27 through 33.
Approach to review them, but we contend there are photographs that are basically the same, so it's perfectly evidence.
Okay.
She seems
You
annoying.
want to approach to review them? Okay.
He wastes a lot of time. He's a little bit like Daryl. The other thing I was going to say, since apparently I have time to say it, is, and I kind of said something, when he was doing the cross exam of Cameron Williams, the fellow in the white jacket who actually got some stuff on camera, I thought he was a pretty good witness. He was, trying to say to him, well, can you see that her shirt is being pulled? And he's pretty much saying, I was not, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to what Hannah was wearing, what she was doing. It was nice that he did go over at least to go try to help Mr. Herring. But I like that for the most part, really all part, these witnesses have not allowed him to, except that one poor woman who actually saw Mr. Herring after he was shot. I just think that she was so emotional, he got her a little confused, to be sure, there were certain discrepancies of what people reported. Like some said he was standing outside with the weapon. Some said he was inside the vehicle. Some said they were fighting. Some said he was hitting the vehicle. But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear cut.
May I publish these to the
Yes, you may.
Well, for me. For those of you who are watching, not yet.
Is there any way to lower the lights so hopefully we can see this better without that glare? Now, do you recognize that photograph?
I do.
It's been exhibit number 27.
Yes, sir.
And
Okay.
is there a mark that is distinctive there in that photograph?
Yes, sir. I see a scratch mark going vertically and a fainter one going horizontally on the back of Miss Payne's neck.
Instead of me, if you would not mind, you could come over here and point it out.
There's a way for her to.
Right, but you can't see it on the screen. Instead of me just sitting there going like this.
There's a way for detective.
Oh, there is?
Yes.
Okay. If you could point out.
So you have to do something to the screen so that it's like a little pin on there that I can draw with. I'm not quite sure how to do that.
Didn't somebody circle something before? Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I thought one of the witnesses circled something.
Right. Here, I think it would be evidence BC.
He wastes a lot of time. He needs to get his act together.
Yeah, they usually they do something over there and they pop up over here.
That poor court reporter should be paid double. She's had to assist him. She's she has such a good spirit, the court reporter.
Are you aware how to get the dots that need the 3 dots?
That poor thing has had to jump down for him. My Lord. What a spectacle.
I appreciate it.
You can come back.
Excuse me, I got choked up. Poor thing.
That she can mark on.
I hope he's paying her out of his pocket. He's ridiculous.
Be able to show on the screen.
Where did he come from? The Clown Attorney Academy? He had to have. Because he's a clown. I wonder what the jury thinks. I mean, I guess they have to just look at the evidence. But it would be hard for me not to look at him and say, where?
Oh, it's on hers. Got this stuff.
Oh my gosh. I bet maybe you should have had Hannah get up there and help him do it.
What color would you like to use? Yellow, green, blue? Blue.
Oh my God.
Green. Or red.
Oh my gosh. Now they got to decide on the color. She's going to circle the scratch mark. Oh my God.
He showed me what to do. I think I'm good.
Yeah. I think that even the smooth talking judge, the silky voiced judge is like, I bet she gets home with a migraine with him in there.
All right. Hopefully that'll work on your screen there. If you could, yes, darling. And that to you appeared to be
A scratch.
a scratch. Okay. Was there another scratch?
It's a lot fainter, but yes, it's right here.
And did you have an opportunity to measure the scratches?
The county photographer, I believe, had a ruler that he took a picture with. You should have those photos as well. You have these.
I'm trying to change up this one here. Should pull it.
Look, they're laughing them back. They're probably saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go. Somebody's, look, now here comes somebody else. Oh my gosh.
She's already got it there.
Now, I'll be the first to say that I'm very technically challenged. But I would probably have another attorney with me, which would have been very, very smart in his case, other than Hannah, who knew technology. I'd say, hey, you do the technology part.
Representation of the measuring of that scratch.
Yes, sir.
And do you see how many inches long that is?
The up and down one is approximately, I would say, 3.5 inches.
And did they happen to measure the other?
And that one horizontally would be approximately almost 3 inches.
And in the photographs, defense exhibit number 28,
Yes, sir.
what does that appear to be?
Like it's kind of pink, but it looks almost like it's swollen a little bit.
And that is her wrist?
That would be her right wrist, yes, sir.
Okay. And that is her right wrist?
Yes, sir.
And defense exhibit number 30, could you tell me what that is?
There's a small little mark right above her upper lip on her right side.
And that would appear to be something that occurred during an incident that left a mark on her lips?
You can't testify to that.
Your response?
All you can do is testify to what the photographs are.
I'll rephrase it.
Okay, so objection sustained, you can rephrase.
You felt that this picture would be necessary, correct?
Yeah, I was wanting to document any injury, yes, sir.
And looking at this picture, is there an injury in that picture?
There's a small, I don't know what to call it, is a small mark above her lip.
Okay. And in this picture here, can you tell me what that's a picture of?
That's Miss Payne's face, but there was some pinkness right there.
Does there appear to be any swelling in this area here?
I couldn't say because I didn't know what she looked like prior to taking the picture, but yes, it appears that there's some discoloration.
Yeah. And this would be a fair and accurate representation of the shirt that she was wearing?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
And what's a depiction of that?
The shirt was torn.
And are the buttons ripped off?
It's been so long, I don't recall what the shirt would have looked like before, but there's clearly, at the very top, there was clearly like where something joined, but I'm not sure if it was buttons or if it was like sewn. I'm not sure, sir.
So it's fair to say that the cloth here had been torn apart from the other side of the shirt.
In the middle, where it's a V, yes.
Okay, and these, you requested to have the photographer take pictures of, correct?
Of the what, sir?
Is that objection? My state request is that he remove, if he's going to be questioning, take exhibit B.
These were all photographs that you requested of Ms. Payne.
I did.
So you felt these were relevant and sufficient evidence?
Relevant and sufficient?
Well, to start, do you feel that this was evidence that needed to be documented?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you feel that those were fair depictions of all of the injuries or some of the injuries?
All.
All. I made a friend drunk.
You may.
Cringe, he's approaching. Excuse me, I had to let my little kitty Paris out. She wanted to go out to the other room.
Do these appear to be other photos that were taken of Ms. Payne?
On the same day, yes, sir.
Okay. And are these fair and accurate representations of what you saw being photographed?
It is.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I would tender Defense Exhibit number 34 and 35.
Any objection from the state? Okay.
Fine?
No objection.
Yes, you may call.
And that is a picture of,
That would be her right hand.
okay. And do there appear to be any marks around the knuckles?
It appears to be slightly discolored and possibly a little swollen.
Okay. And do you see any distinct marks around that?
I'm not sure if it's a vein or if it's a mark, but there's a more darker discoloration below her pointer finger. No, over some.
Right there?
No, oh, no, that's not what I was talking about. Yeah, that is a little discolored as well. I'm talking about down below her knuckle.
Oh,
You're
gosh.
coming, you're not even over here. No, you're
No,
nowhere near. Right
pointer
here.
finger. Oh,
I don't know
gosh.
if I can draw on it still. No, I cannot.
Okay, I'm just going to pause for a minute because he's going to tinker around with that picture for a minute. Okay, so she has scratches on her. So if Mr. Herring did scratch her, would that not be considered self-defense of a woman approaching him, hitting him or his vehicle? Or could like that injury on her hand be from her hitting the vehicle if she was pounding on the window? Now the scratches on her neck, I have no idea. But my thing is, would they not have been able to go under Mr. Herring's nails to see if, her DNA could have been found? I'm sure that would have been easy to do. Now, whether they did that or not, I don't know. That's just my question. Of course, I'm not, I'm no expert. That's my question. And the arm, the right hand is where she held the weapon. So yeah, if he was fighting with her to try to get it, or just to get her out of his face, maybe, yeah, that would make sense. But she was fighting against him too. I don't know. What do you all think? Do you have any thoughts or opinions on it? What do you think the jury's thinking? I mean, what does this prove at the end of the day? She attacked him.
Here's where I was speaking of it. Yeah, there is a little discoloration. It looks a little swollen, and there's some discoloration on her fingers as well. Between her fingers, I should say.
Do you notice anything to the, I guess it would be to the side of that you just circled?
I honestly can't tell if it's a photograph or not, but it would appear there's discoloration there, and there, and there.
And that would be in the webbing of her hand?
The between the fingers, yes.
Okay. And that would appear that there's possibly some cuts from the palm coming out, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah, please don't.
See
discoloration and possible swelling.
And does it appear to be coming from the palm of the hand out? Between where you circled the webs of the finger?
Oh, like inside the fingers?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And those wouldn't be from the external of the hand, it would be coming from the palm of the hand, correct?
I would think it was where your fingers were together, or something was between your fingers.
And
wait a minute. Could that be from her holding the weapon? I'm not sure.
They've been cut? Does it appear they've been
cut?
Yeah, it would. To me, I've worked a lot of different types of crimes. I don't know if I can testify to that, but if that's okay, it would appear to be swelling and like blunt force to me.
Would it appear as if a finger would be pulled away from the other fingers? It could cause that kind of tear or rip?
It does not appear to be torn or ripped to me, sir. It appears to be like almost where a bruise is coming up, where like blunt force was applied.
Inside the webbing, correct?
That's what it would appear to me.
Okay.
Bruise type injuries.
Are we from hitting the vehicle or hitting him?
The webbing, just be clear, inside the webbing.
If you want me to be specific, yeah, this one would be in the. I would call that webbing. I would call that just between. You don't call them knuckles. Yeah, I guess knuckles, and then that would just be on her. I guess the inside of her thumb.
And on this,
How did she hold the weapon? Because that could be from her clenching the weapon, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing here. I guess I'm acting as if I were a juror. I guess you could say minus my bias against the attorney and everything.
you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
This right here.
Upside down, sir. There you go.
Upside down.
Okay. This is exhibit number 35. Is there anything that's significant of that picture?
The significance for that picture for me would be the fact that her jeans had dirt or grease on them.
And they appear to be in a circle.
This picture is, I think if you had the picture that came from Warren Bond, it would be more visible, but there's definitely dirt and grease, I would say above her knee and below in her thigh area on the front.
And what was the condition of the outside of the truck?
The truck was, there's photographs of it, but it was partially red and it was partially, I think you call it primer gray. It was not a clean vehicle.
So it's possible these pink grease spots to come from when the D's were against the door.
And again, speculation. Your response, Attorney General?
I don't think it's speculation. They took a picture of this for a reason, and therefore I would like to know what the reason is. And I was putting up a reason and see if that was correct, and if not, she can answer why they took pictures.
And again, it requires you to guess as to how the dirt got on the defendant's jeans.
It does call for speculation, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Yeah, speculation. So she was against his car.
But
So what
you
is that?
felt this was significant to take a picture.
I did.
Maybe more for the prosecution's case because she was up against his vehicle. How does that help her?
And
Am I missing something, people?
of all the contents of the inside of the truck,
Here we go. Let's look at
nothing
that
was
face.
really taken as
He has asked multiple times.
Taken from the truck over and over and over again.
He
I've
has.
seen the inventory sheet which I handed to her. They gave an inventory sheet. I see a lot of pictures. I'm not sure if one or two of those pictures they did take as inventory because it's kind of miscellaneous. It doesn't really specifically
Oh my
say.
gosh.
So I'm trying to narrow it down to find out specifically out of this miscellaneous, was there anything taken that they took pictures of?
I'm going to sustain the objection, Attorney General, because I think this has repeatedly
Yeah.
said
Repeatedly.
and what was not taken.
Repeatedly.
So, ask her this question.
Go ask Hannah. What else can I ask? Consult your co-attorney.
No further questions.
Thank you, Attorney Tucker. Does the state have any redirect for this witness?
Do you know what defendant Payne, what her neck looked like on May 6th of 2019?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Do you know what her hands looked like on May the 6th of 2019?
No, ma'am.
Do you know what her jeans looked like on May the 6th of 2019?
No, ma'am, I do not.
As part of your investigation, were you aware that after the shooting, the defendant put on a different shirt
I was, yes, ma'am.
that would have to go over her head and near her neck?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, he looks so, he's a terrible actor. Excuse me. Yeah.
Just one moment. I'll be a little bit clear about approach with State's Exhibit number 28 about this knife that was photographed as well. Can you display, I'm just going to do it from here because I'm not going to try that machine.
Yes, ma'am.
Behind the driver's seat, which is kind of smushed back against the back seat, would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
There's bag,
Yes, ma'am.
some cables,
Yes, ma'am.
and the butt of this knife is shoved down in a bag, or in that area, correct?
Behind the seat, yes, ma'am.
You were shown photographs of the defendant's hand
Yes, ma'am.
and her fingers.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that's the state of her fingernails when the defendant first arrived at the Clayton County Police Department?
No, ma'am, it is not.
What was the state of the defendant's fingernails when she first arrived at the Clayton County Police Department?
She had on long fingernails, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa. So she had on fingernails, fake fingernails. And in the pictures, she doesn't have on fingernails. That could be interesting. What's that all about? A lot of theories. She could have scratched herself.
Any of the things that you photographed on the defendant's face, arm, any of that. You do not know what she looked like earlier in the day on May the 7th of 2019. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes, ma'am.
No further questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, here we go.
And as you
And-
described the night that was taken, whether it was shoved down between cables or
We're going to
not,
talk about the knife
it
again.
was successful. You could reach back there and grab it.
It was behind the driver's seat, but just to the right side.
So it was accessible.
I couldn't say, I don't know how long his arms were, but I would think so, yes.
And all these pictures you took, or you had taken, you felt were important, correct?
To document the, yes, I would say yes.
So you felt that there was significance in it to document it for the case.
I did.
But he didn't use the knife, so what does it matter? It's really reaching.
And further,
Yeah, there's no.
This witness.
Judge, did she be released?
Yes, Detective Moore, thank you. You're excused. Does the state have another witness?
Me too, Judge. It might be lengthy, but I'm trying to get started and then we need to break.
Okay, I think it is appropriate to give a break at this time. The jurors have been sitting for a while. I'm going to make it a very short break. It's now 2:15. If you could be back by 2:30, then we'll resume.
Just a brief pause before we bring the last witness off. Not off, but bring the last witness up. I was getting ready to conclude this video because it's pretty long, but I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and let the last witness come on because it really connects with what the prior witness said. And so it's a little longer to upload and all that, but I think it makes more sense to do it that way, even though it takes longer. And they usually have the witnesses say and spell the first and last name, but I noticed with the last one they didn't. But she was Detective Tracy Moore. And then this next witness, I don't know, it sounds like to me he said his name is Sergeant Ryan Richie. But like I said, they didn't have him spell it, and so it's harder for me to, it's kind of hard audio, but that's to the best of my hearing and witnessing. So we will go ahead and continue on with this fun and weird adventure.
This matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You can take your hand down. When you get situated, if you would please introduce yourself to the jury.
I'm Sergeant Ryan Richie of the Clayton County Police Department.
And how long have you been with the Clayton County Police Department?
10 years now.
And is
And
that
that
the length
says
of
it on
time
this.
that you have been in law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you a post-certified law enforcement officer?
I am.
What is your job description now at the Clayton County Police Department?
Now I'm a supervisor on Uniform Patrol Division.
And what was your job description back on May the 7th of 2019?
I was a road officer in the Uniform Patrol Division.
And does that mean basically you're wearing uniform similar to the one that you're wearing today?
Yes, ma'am.
You drive a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
And does that generally entail responding to various calls of various natures?
Yes.
And did you work very late last night?
Yes, I did.
Okay. On May the 7th of 2019, around 6:15 p.m., were you working a traffic situation in and around the intersection of Forest Parkway and Interstate 285?
Yes, I was.
Describe what the situation is and what y'all were doing to begin with?
I'm not sure what the incident was on the interstate, but we had to block that ramp getting onto 285 East so that no cars could go down there and get traffic even more backed up than it already was.
And so what did that mean that you were doing in that area?
We just were parked stationary with our lights on, making sure people didn't turn down that entrance ramp to the interstate.
And when you say we, who else was there?
That was myself and Sergeant Marion.
We all in one patrol vehicle or two?
2 vehicles.
Or were you wearing a uniform as well?
Yes, I was.
Did something happen that drew your attention to another area on near Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway?
Yes, I was flagged down by a citizen that informed me there had been a vehicle accident and someone had been shot.
And what did you do in response?
Spun around, informed the sergeant, and drove down to that incident location.
And what was that incident location?
That was Riverdale Road and Forest Parkway in the far right northbound lane.
And is the area that you went to where you observed what appeared to be a traffic situation, is that location, that specific location in Clayton County?
Yes, it is.
When you first arrived, kind of describe what you initially see.
There's a large crowd of people, obviously the 2 vehicles that appeared to have collided, and there were other vehicles pulled over to the side to, I guess, assist with the situation, and multiple witnesses pointing to a red pickup truck saying that the man inside had been shot.
Did you do anything to see if you could determine who had fired a shot?
Yes, I asked who shot him, and that's when Miss Payne stated I did, and handed me her firearm, her license, and her Georgia concealed carry permit.
And you indicated Ms. Payne, is that person sitting in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you identify where she's sitting and describe her by an article of clothing?
A little off to my right in a green top with some texturing on the sleeves.
Let the record reflect that the officer has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect.
And during the course of this encounter, you indicated that the defendant handed you IDs and things along those lines. Did they identify the defendant as Hannah Payne?
Yes.
Did you, after you received the firearm, etc., where did you go next?
Went to Mr. Herring's vehicle, the driver's side door. For some reason, I couldn't get it open. I'm not sure what the issue was there, but trying to assess him as far as his injuries.
And you were unable to open that driver's side door?
Correct.
How did you gain access?
Went around to the passenger side and tried to help from that side.
Do you recall whether or not the vehicle was either in gear or whether there were keys in the ignition? What do you recall about that?
I don't recall if it was in gear or if there were keys in the ignition.
And were there documents in the vehicle that identified the person in that vehicle as Kenneth Herring?
Yes.
Was Mr. Herring responsive to you?
He was not.
And what did you do?
Trying to identify where his gunshot wound was and basically what was going on with him, as long as trying to get the driver's side door open.
And was an paramedics or EMT or an ambulance requested?
Yes, they were.
And what were you doing in order to assist Mr. Herring prior to the arrival of the ambulance and paramedics?
Apply pressure to his wound, and initially I was looking for something to apply that pressure with. I didn't find anything, and another officer arrived with some gauze to help out with that.
And were there also civilians assisting you with Mr. Herring?
Yes.
Before the paramedics arrived?
Yes.
Did Mr. Herring ever say anything while you were there?
No, ma'am.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get this adjusted a little bit.
Did you observe anything in Mr. Herring's hands when you arrived?
I did not.
The firearm that was handed to you by the defendant, did you keep that firearm and place it into evidence?
Yes, I did.
Prior to doing so, did you do what's called clear the gun?
I did.
Tell us what that means.
That means when you eject the magazine and then rack the slide to eject the round that's in the chamber.
And why do you do that?
To make sure the gun is completely unloaded and safe.
And did you make any observations when you attempted to clear the handgun in this particular case?
I did when I ejected the round that was in there, which would have been a live round. If the gun cycled properly, it was a spent shell casing inside the chamber.
And what, based on your training or knowledge of weapons, what does that mean if the shell casing remains in the chamber?
That just means the slide didn't make it back far enough to eject that shell casing out.
Were you familiar with, as this investigation is ongoing, the defendant, Hannah Payne, being detained on that scene?
Yes.
Did you also have the vehicles impounded so that they could be searched?
Yes, ma'am.
And you indicated there were several people standing around. Were there any people that were standing around that indicated they had seen what occurred?
Yes, there were.
Did you hand out pieces of paper or forms for them to write statements on?
Yes, we did.
Did you also take photographs of the general, or have photographs taken of the general area, the scene, and both vehicles?
Yes, ma'am. The county photographer did.
I'll show these to council on the break, though. Yes. I'm going to approach with states 7 through 14. You would look through states exhibits 7 through 14. Tell me if they fairly and accurately depict what you observed on May 7th of 2019.
They do.
This time, state with tender states 7 through 14.
Any objection?
Your Honor, I believe one of them is repetitive to a picture I've said previously tendered. I'm not sure what the harm would be showing it again, but I think it is repetitive from one of my previous.
So is there an objection to that particular one?
I think it's almost the same picture. Bring it to the court with repetitive.
Okay. So I'm gonna add this then.
Oh boy.
7. You have a screen, but I'm going to just do the point because it makes everyone's life easier.
Okay.
Is this the location where you found the vehicles when you first arrived?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you kind of describe the lanes and the intersection that we're looking at?
This lane on the right-hand side that the pickup truck is in is the turning lane from Forest Parkway onto Riverdale Road northbound.
Okay. And the black Jeep?
The black Jeep is mostly in the lane to the left of that, which is a straight through lane through that intersection northbound.
And using State's Exhibit number 8, what angle have we moved to at this point?
This is, the picture is facing southbound now.
In front of the, and I'm asking, I know we can all see it, but for the record, is this from the, in front of the two vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe what you see about the wheels of the Jeep?
They're angled to the right.
Are they angled toward the pickup truck?
Yes.
And do you see there's the vehicles appear to be touching at the back. Would that be accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
And State's Exhibit number 9. Let's let it focus. Okay. Describe what we're looking at in State's Exhibit number 9.
That's the victim's vehicle.
And in addition to where the two vehicles are touching on the driver's side of the victim's vehicle and the passenger side rear of the defendant's vehicle, is there obvious other damage to Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Yes.
And does there appear to be toward the ground some fluids and whatever coming out of that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you say if some of these photographs or most of these photographs were taken after a lot of the witnesses and the traffic had kind of left the area?
That's correct.
And State's Exhibit number 10, can you just kind of describe what we're looking at in State's Exhibit number 10?
This is through the driver's side window of the victim's vehicle after he had been transported out by EMS.
And to your knowledge, was that window down when you arrived?
It was.
And you can see some gloves and kind of some evidence of the medical intervention.
Yes.
Is that correct? Did you also see inside the vehicle what appeared to be some sort of work ID that Mr. Herring had been wearing when he was shot?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that kind of removed and located in the vehicle with a bullet hole?
It was.
Oh, wow. Mm. Yeah, you did that. Ugh.
And did y'all also kind of photograph from the other side, from the passenger side, some items that were just the content and the state of the victim's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what we're looking at in State's Exhibit number 12.
Correct.
This one might be the repeat, but did you also photograph the center console and just the entire front passenger compartment of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, from the county photographer.
Was it photographed? I guess that's the better way to say it. Okay. Did you also observe basically what the back of Mr. Herring's vehicle looked like on the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
So we see, for the record, a laundry basket, what appears to be a trash bag, and some other items. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's basically how his vehicle looked when you arrived to that accident location in Forest Parkway.
Yes, it was.
In Clinton County, let me say that. During the course of your time on the scene, did you realize or become aware that this situation was related to a traffic accident further down the road?
Yes, I believe our dispatchers came over and said that the victim's vehicle matched the description of that vehicle.
Okay. And did you have anything to do with that other scene at all?
I did not.
Your Honor, the state, where the record states about to approach the witness with a firearm. That firearm has been cleared and inspected by your courtroom deputies to ensure that it is safe to be in this courtroom.
Thank you. Chief Assistant.
And I've also allowed inspection by counsel during the break. So when I approach with State's Exhibit number 15, you would look at State's Exhibit number 15 and you can look at the contents. Let me know if you recognize State's Exhibit number 15.
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize State's Exhibit number 15?
This is what I entered into evidence.
Okay, and does it contain the box itself? Does it have your name on it indicating that you recovered State's Exhibit number 15?
Yes, it does.
And other than the fact that it has labels and indications that the firearm has been to the crime lab for testing, is the firearm in the same or substantially the same condition as it was once you cleared it and made sure that it was unloaded?
Yes.
Or this time, State tenders State's Exhibit 15.
No objection.
I believe for those objection.
And other than the fact that it has zip ties through the barrel and it is zip tied to the box, this would be the condition of that firearm. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to leave the magazine here on the table, but can you turn the box and display the firearm to the jury, please?
Security.
Yes. Can you tell us the make and model of this firearm?
The Springfield XD9,
And what is the caliber?
9mm.
Did you also recover the rounds that were contained in the magazine, plus the shell casing and the holster that the gun was in?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Showing you what has been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 16, 17, and 18. Can you look at 16 first? And tell me if you recognize 16.
It's the holster that it was in.
And is that an item that was handed to you that you placed into evidence for this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it in the same or substantially the same condition, other than the fact that the gun is removed from it, as when it was handed to you on May the 7th of 2019?
It is.
State tenders State's Exhibit number 16.
Any objection?
I can see from that here.
This is the same one I showed you during the break.
Okay, admitted without objection.
Sit down. Just sit
And the
down.
rounds that were removed from the magazine that we've seen in State's Exhibit number 15, did you also collect those as State's Exhibit number 17?
Yes, ma'am.
State tender State's Exhibit number 17.
Any objection? Okay, admitted without objection.
And did you also, as you indicated, when you tried to clear the gun, there was a shell casing that was next up to fire versus an actual round. Did you place that shell casing in evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you what's labeled as State's Exhibit number 18. Can you look at the other side and see if it indicates that that is an item that you placed into evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you alter it or tamper with it in any way?
I did not.
State tender State's Exhibit number 18.
I just provide a closer look at it. I'm not disputing it.
I have it if you can.
Did she say? Yeah.
That's a no objection?
No objection, no.
Okay, admitted without objection.
Okay, I asked the deputy if the gun goes to the gun. I don't know where they want us to leave a firearm. We're required to keep guns and ammo separate.
Right.
Back on May the 7th of 2019, can you describe whether you had a body camera?
I did.
How did those body cameras work, to your knowledge?
Similar to the ones that we wear now. I believe these are upgraded, but it's just activated by a push button on a remote, and it records until it's turned off.
Okay. And how are the recordings kept?
They're automatically uploaded to a cloud that our department keeps record of.
And once it's uploaded to that cloud, do you have any ability to go in there and delete things, change things, alter things at all?
No, ma'am.
Were you wearing your department-issued body cam on May the 7th of 2019?
Yes, I was.
And have you had an opportunity to observe and view the recording of that body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
And does the recording fairly and accurately depict what you recall as it occurred as you were working this scene?
Yes, it does.
Showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit number 19. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 19?
Yes, I do.
And other than the fact that it's labeled Officer Richie BWC, which is body worn camera, does it have your initials indicating that you viewed it?
Yes, it does.
And when you viewed State's Exhibit number 19, it contained what you observed.
Yes.
Remember this time, State of Tender, State's Exhibit number 19, with the caveat, as we discussed pre-trial, the state is tendering up until minute 13, with 13 and 15 seconds.
And briefly approach its connection with that.
Okay, you may.
So they have a body cam. I wonder what all that's going to reveal. Expression really doesn't change. Well, so just change your top there. She's just a jabbering away on the phone. She should have put her phone away and tried to help that man. Poor man. Poor family.
Stay with me, okay? Can you talk to me, though? Hey, so you got a name? Yeah, man, I'm not with you.
Can you tell me anything? I'm good. You too. That's what I'm going. Come on, sir. Stay with me, okay? Just keep breathing. Hey, what's your name? Just keep breathing, man, okay? Another word. Keep breathing. Come on, you look like before they come down on your phone, okay? That's a man. Come on, stay with me, man. Keep breathing, okay? $30 or anything? He's probably got a wallet in his pocket. He's... Is that your phone below you? Yeah. I'm assuming so. So stay with me, man. Hang tight. Come on, sir. Just keep breathing, okay? Keep breathing. I'm strong breathing. We got you now. We got you now. That's them coming up right now. Yeah, somewhat, yes. Yeah, let's get up here. Yes. It's going to be the belly button. Dog area. Come on, man. Keep breathing, okay? Just focus on me right now. Keep breathing. That's all you got to do. Hey. 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 Keep your eyes open. Let me see you breathe. Breathe for you, breathe, man. Stay with us. Don't noise, son. Stay with me. Hey, we got one. We got one gunshot here. Super weak pulse. Barely breathing. We just found out what happened. They got to wreck the lady. They got hit by a teammate. Barely. We got a single entry room right here. I don't know if there's an exit. We haven't been able to move it far enough to find out. Where's that hallway? Come on, man. Keep moving, all right? We're moving for you, okay? We're moving. We got you, man. Just hand up. That's what I need for. Kind of. Come on, Bill. Good person. Is it just a hole one you saw? Yeah. I don't know if there's anything. I got his one over there. Holy. Another arm. That's a patient prisoner right there. No, we won't say anything. Patient RG prisoner.
Oh, they finally said his name, it sounds like.
Where's my guy? Oh, yeah. You just keep an eye on that. We got shit to the needles. I don't know if it's AD or diabetic shit.
Oh Lord, probably Mr. Smarmy's gonna say something about the needle. But we already know what it is.
Traffic conditions that we were just kind of viewing in the body cam, was that more consistent with like all the cars and everything that were around on that particular day?
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, that's heavy duty.
And do you recall after watching the body cam that we just watched, seeing yourself take the keys out of the ignition and put them on the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think that's all I have this time, Judge.
Any cross-examination, Attorney?
Oh, here we go. Oh boy.
Was it still officer? Is it lieutenant yet? Or
Sergeant.
You-
Sergeant.
Sergeant. Congratulations. All right. I noticed in this video here, you came upon the scene after the fact, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't see how the impact of the two vehicles, how it occurred, correct?
Correct.
But you could see where there was impact.
Correct.
All right, and you'd heard that there was an accident further down the road, as you said, Forest Parkway to Riverdale Road, correct?
Yes, sir.
And was there signs of damage to the vehicle, the truck, from that accident?
I'm not sure about that initial accident, but the whole front end of the truck was damaged.
Okay. So, and you've been working patrol how many years prior to that?
10 years.
So you've seen a lot of accidents, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that appeared to be where the truck made some major impact, correct?
I wouldn't say major impact.
It made enough impact to do that damage that you see on the pictures
On
and
the front right side of the truck, yes.
Oh boy. Here we go.
before I go that with you, I'll go ahead and present State's Exhibit 7. Okay. And for it that way.
That's upside down on my
Okay.
I would have totally done the same thing, but by now,
And when you
get
approach
your
it,
person to
that's
help
the
you.
view that saw.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And of course, there's a median way behind it. Well, not way behind it, but behind it. Was there any indication that there was a vehicle that hit that median before that, from your experience
Oh,
and your
God.
training, seeing the accident?
I didn't check the median on scene, but in this picture, I don't see anything that would indicate that.
But you did check the vehicles, the tires, both the Jeep and the truck.
Yes, there was on
Did it
scene.
appear that any of those had damage from hitting a median?
I couldn't tell what damaged the vehicles.
You know, he's so hung up on that one testimony of the witness thinking that Hannah's Jeep jumped the median. I get it, but it's still, at the end, it has nothing to do with anything. It still has nothing to do with anything, but he's going to harp on it. Mr. Harp. Mr. Attorney Smarmy Harp.
Okay. But you have seen damage from vehicles hitting the median, correct?
Oh my
correct.
God.
And as your initial review of this, it didn't appear that those vehicles had damage from hitting a median.
They didn't have any damage to the tires that would come from hitting the median.
All right, and
All right, can we move on now?
you stated you came up there and a lot of people had gathered around, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how long do you anticipate it was from hearing what they said the incident occurred and getting on the scene?
About a minute.
About a minute? And more people were gathering during that period of time?
I'm not sure. I just remember seeing a crowd of people once I arrived. I'm not sure who stopped and came and went after that.
Okay, but from that picture out there, does that seem to be a fair and accurate representation of what it looked like when you got on the scene?
No, there was a much larger crowd of people, much more traffic passing through the area. This is after we locked the entire intersection down and did not let anybody come back into that scene.
Well, there you go.
So it's fair to say that using State's Exhibit number 9, it's fair to say that that's an accurate representation of the damage to the Red Dakota.
Yes, sir.
And from that angle of view, the damage that is on the right hand of the truck, that appears to be from a previous incident or previous accident, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does that appear to be significant damage, or?
I'd say that's pretty significant, yes.
And there's radiation fluid leaking from underneath it?
I'm not sure what kind of fluid it is, but yes.
Fluid, and it appears to be coming from the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And from
Radiation.
that, there does appear to be contact between the truck and the Jeep, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from that angle there, it appears, maybe we can get that. From this angle there, your testimony was that it appears the Jeep was in the lane going straight and the truck was in the merging lane, correct?
Looks like the Jeep is mostly in that straightforward lane. Yes.
Okay. And in this picture here, where it appears they ended up, the final resting of the two vehicles, it doesn't appear that that Jeep is too far out of that one lane, correct?
I mean, it is out of its lane of travel.
But it's a foot, 2 foot out of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And generally with those merging lanes, there's a little bit more space so that they have time to merge into the lane of traffic that appears the Jeep has slowly deviated from, correct?
Yeah, there should be enough space to merge.
So it's fair to say that generally the right-hand side of the truck would be kind of a fair representation of what is open or what could be used to drive around, or an accident if it happened, that people could go around it, or an ambulance vehicle could go around it without being obstructed or hindered.
Could go around the truck.
Yes, on the right-hand side.
They'd be pushing it before they hit the curb for an ambulance or something like that.
But hitting the curb in those circumstances,
Yeah,
it's not a big deal, and that curb is not that high, correct?
Correct.
It can be done without damage to a vehicle or damage to a tire.
I mean, depending on the speed,
Okay. But it could occur, correct?
it could occur.
Okay. And the impact that you see there, it wouldn't be difficult for that truck to either back up a little bit and continue going forward, or to kind of just push the vehicle forward, move forward.
Well, I don't think you'd be able to push it forward because of the contact with the tire, but if you put it in reverse, you'd probably jump the curve and get around it.
Okay. I think you did that fairly simple.
I mean, depending on your level of driving skill.
Okay. All right. Now, when you did arrive, you immediately.
And perhaps you weren't, experiencing a medical emergency and being detained by Hannah Payne. Yeah, maybe then.
Walked up and you secured the weapon, correct?
Correct.
And the individual handed you the weapon and was hanging around, no fear of her leaving the scene. Did you have any fear of her leaving the scene?
I did not.
Do you have any fear of her handing you the weapon?
No.
Okay. And when you took the weapon, you weren't wearing gloves, were you?
When I initially took it, I was not.
Okay. And the major portion of initially when you got there was trying to mitigate or kind of keep people away from the truck or away from the scene that was going on. 'Cause
Yeah, my first concern was securing the scene and then analyzing the victim to see what was going on.
because there were some civilians inside the truck assisting.
There was that gentleman that helped us with the first aid, yes, sir.
And when you first arrived, Mr. Herring was alive.
Yes, he had a pulse.
Okay.
Barely.
And as you were inside the vehicle, as you attempted to get in on the driver's side, the door appeared to be stuck or inoperable.
I couldn't get it open. I'm not sure if it was operator error or if it was locked in some way that I couldn't figure out, but I had to go through the passenger side.
Okay. Could an accident that had previously happened caused that damage, caused the door to be jammed or stuck?
Causing the damage to the passenger side?
No, to the driver's side where you initially tried to get in.
I didn't see any noticeable damage on the driver's side door, and Officer Holloway, when he responded, was eventually able to get that door open.
So, but initially you felt it was locked or it couldn't be open?
Yes, sir.
And there was a lock on the inside of the door that could be used to open and lock to secure the door from not being open, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as you got into the car, I noticed that there was talk about what all was lying around on the ground. At one point, they said, "Oh, is that an EpiPen?" Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was not an EpiPen?
It was not.
It was a highlighter?
Yeah, I think it did end up being a highlighter.
Okay. And there were numerous, what appeared to be needles
Yes.
throughout. And did anybody collect those needles?
We took the whole vehicle to the CSI bay with the needles inside.
Okay. But nobody actually touched those needles, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And that's procedure. If you don't know what kind of needle it is, you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy. So in your training, it's until the needle has been identified, no one really touches it, correct?
Right.
And that did occur on that day.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you said that you went around to the other door and you were able to open that to get inside, correct?
Yes.
And there was not much blood anywhere in the scene or on the victim, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there was no way really to tell how much bleeding was occurring.
Correct.
I believe it was internal mostly.
And
Don't minimize it. Ooh, sorry.
at one
jumped
point,
it.
you heard a lot of individuals saying, "We need an ambulance. Get an ambulance out here." Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever hear Miss Payne saying that they needed an ambulance?
Not individually, no.
But you could hear in the background with the others saying they needed an ambulance?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't apparent that she was trying to hinder in any way of getting medical attention.
She was too busy on the phone.
Okay. And during the whole process, she didn't try to hinder anything that was going on. She was cooperative and followed instructions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you see that she was talking to some of the other witnesses there?
Yes, she did appear to be arguing with one of the witnesses.
Okay. And but
arguing.
nothing of those arguments raised to be anything physical. It was just communication back and forth, right?
Yeah, I never saw any physical contact.
And even though it appeared to be getting heated, nothing really turned into physical, correct?
Not that I saw.
Okay. And as you got in there and started looking around the vehicle, there were all kinds of items in that vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were there any
Were there any?
So various items that were seen in there initially appeared to be trash from that angle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was the console open and appeared to be in that kind of condition when you got into the vehicle?
I don't believe the center console was open when I was in the vehicle.
Did you open the center console?
No, I did not. I didn't.
And that's the way it appeared when you got into the vehicle?
The closed center console.
And looking into that center console, is anything of importance that you would see there that you would use in your investigation?
This witness's opinion of what he sees when he just indicated that it's closed when he was there. It's not. The response.
He sees a open portion of the console. He was the one doing the investigation on the scene. If he saw it in this kind of condition when pictures were taken, I think he can make an assessment if anything in there would be important in his investigation.
Okay, I think his indication was that it was closed.
But now that it is open and he sees it,
Oh
he
my
can
gosh.
assess if there was anything
No,
in
no,
there
no,
that
no.
would be helpful in his investigation.
It is Chief Assistant Smith.
Judge, I stand by my objection. It was closed for this particular officer. His opinion about what's in there, I think, is irrelevant at this time.
And I can ask him a different way.
No, I doubt it.
Well, I'm going to sustain the
Mhm.
objection.
I'm telling you, she sustains him a lot.
It was closed. Anything he would say is not going to be relevant because it was closed when he arrived.
And in further your investigation, did you ever make it back to the truck to see that the console was open?
I can't recall.
You can't recall. Okay. Were there other people assisting you in the investigation?
Oh Lord.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who was that?
Off the top of my head, I can remember Officer Holloway, Officer Amos, Sergeant Marion, Detective Hayward came out to the scene. I think Officer Matthews was there, who I was yelling for in the video. That's all I can remember off the top of my head.
And all of them were there to assist in the investigation, correct?
During that initial call that we got.
So the presumption is one of them opened that console. If you did not see it in that manner, from your experience and training, somebody opened the console to see what the contents were, correct?
Yes, somebody opened the console.
And they would have done that to try to investigate, see if there's anything that is significant or could assist in your investigation.
Can we put this to rest?
It's speculated as to why other people opened the console.
Your Honor, he's been an investigator
Oh my
and I'm actually on
gosh.
patrol that deals with situations like this. I think his training and
No,
experience,
you're still.
if it's open, if one of his colleagues is there to assist him and they open it, there's a reason.
Wouldn't that be
And I think
hearsay?
he testified that if there is a reason, it would be for the significance of it.
Anything further, Chief Assistant?
Judge, I stand by my objection about this whole line of questioning.
Okay, so I am going to sustain the
Yes.
objection, Attorney Tucker.
Come on, find something else.
So your testimony is that everything was closed. There was nothing that you observed because you were concentrating on the victim at that time.
I
correct?
hope you would be.
And that as you were concentrating on that, other individuals that were there to assist in the investigation were the ones that were investigating and attempting to collect things significant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But the only thing you saw significant was needles all throughout the truck and on the floorboard.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, there was no way to determine what kind of needles they were or what they were used for, so everybody just kind of let it be.
Correct.
How many needles were there from your estimate, from what you saw?
I'm not sure how many needles there were. I remember noticing a significant amount of the little orange caps that go on the needles. And once I saw that one needle in the towel, I kind of backed off of it. I'd say about 5 to 10 of those orange caps that I saw.
And you said you backed away from the needle because
I didn't want anybody going in there and start looking around and get poked by one of those needles.
And so it was for safety.
Yes.
Okay. And you said that there were significant amount of tops or
He did.
reminiscences of needles throughout the truck.
I don't know about throughout the truck, but in that passenger seat where I was at, yes, sir.
And the passenger seat directly by the driver's seat, correct?
Yes, sir.
No, I think that's the one he means.
Were there any, and once again, use your memory or if I can find a better picture. So initially, what we saw in the body cam, which had the console closed and just various trash and needles. That's about all you saw because you were concentrating on assisting Mr. Herring, correct?
Yes, sir.
And upon assisting Mr. Herring, you were able to get him out of the vehicle and into the ambulance,
Yes, sir.
and he was still alive at that time, correct?
I'm not sure what happened on the stretcher ride to the ambulance, but yes, sir.
Okay, but at what point did you leave the tending of Mr. Herring?
Leave the what? I'm sorry.
The tending to or the assistance?
Oh, as soon as they got him from the driver's seat to the stretcher and into the ambulance.
Okay. And at that point, he was still alive and still,
He was unresponsive, had a very weak pulse.
but still alive.
Yeah, still alive.
And did you ever go back to investigate the initial accident?
The accident that happened before
Yes, sir.
this one? No, I did not. That was a
You already
separate
said that.
officer.
You
Do
already
you
said
know what
that.
officer did go back and investigate it?
I don't recall.
Did I forget anything, Hannah? Let me know, Hannah. Did I forget something? Oh, look, I'm going to show you notes of what you forgot. It's so weird.
From your training and experience, and a knowledge of working accidents from the picture that we initially were looking at. Would it appear, in your knowledge and training experience, that the Jeep would ever have to jump that median to get in front of the truck?
Which median?
The median that's clearly right there at the front of the picture. Kind of got a
I thought
glare
he
on it.
already asked
Down in the
that.
bottom left?
Yes, sir.
Okay, based on the way that intersection is, if she went around the median, then you would probably have to jump that depending on how close you were.
Isn't that
If I can
asked
get an overhead
and
picture,
answered?
that'd be easier to explain. 'Cause there's those concrete medians that have the crosswalk signs on them at all four corners of that intersection.
Okay. Taught how to do this earlier. What color would you like?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
It's up to you.
Blue, blue. How about that? Have to be consistent.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Okay, I believe you could use that to mark or to use as an exhibit to show with the Jeep being in that position and the traffic that you saw and the truck, as you see it as it is, would it appear that the Jeep would have to jump the median to get to that position?
To have to, no.
Okay. And from the statements that you were hearing and the witnesses going back and forth, did it appear anyone say she jumped the median?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
This is like, he's gone over the same thing over and over again. That's all he's got, is the median jumping or not jumping. Either way, doesn't matter. A man has
And I don't want you to
expired.
reference it if it was not what you saw when you were on the scene. But do you recall that's what it looked like when you initially got on the scene and went into the vehicle?
Roughly, I'm not sure about the cell phone there.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate representation of what it appeared to be when you got on the scene inside the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this time I would tender defense exhibit number 36.
Any objection?
I'll get it for you if you like.
Probably, he does look so tired, and now he's having to go through this. Oh my goodness.
And, if you take a look at that, I'm going to go back to publish it, and then I'll make sure you can mark it.
Okay.
And I'll state to him that I'll publish it and allow him to have the opportunity to mark. All right, publish it, Your Honor.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Oh dear.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the document I just showed you that you verified was what it appeared in the front seat of the car?
Yes.
I mean the truck when you first got there?
Yep.
All right. What do you see amongst all that?
So the needle caps, whatever's in that bag there, cell phone hooked up with cord, this little flashlight thing down the bottom left, and that white towel that was over the seat.
Okay. And you said whatever was in that bag,
Yes, sir.
that bag that has blue writing on it?
Yes, sir.
Well, what is it? That's what the glare got. And you may be able to approach it and see it better here. Is there any other bags that are below the bag you were referencing that you could see?
Looks like some clear plastic bag.
Okay, and then there appears to be just one, or how many clear plastic bags?
I can't tell. They're all scrunched up together, it looks like.
Does there appear to be something within that clear plastic bag?
Not sure if it's the reflection or seeing through the bag to the white towel, but I can't tell based on this picture.
But it appears to be something.
It could be.
Okay, good.
Could be. Could be. Don't get excited, Attorney Smarmy.
So, your training and experience of working accidents and patrol. And I'm going to go ahead and allow you the ability to mark it. And I believe you should be able to mark there. Could you point out the bag that we were just discussing and circle it?
We're talking about this one right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you said the contents, you're unsure what it is based on that view, correct?
Yeah.
And in your experience and knowledge of training and dealing with that, would that be something you would collect as evidence just to verify what is in that bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you would take that into custody and zip it up in an evidence bag, and you would take it to a lab, or you would send it off to a lab?
It depends on what we suspected it of being, but usually we send that to the GBI's lab.
Okay. And if you were to send something like that, what would you ask them to test for?
Sounds like speculation or something, right? I mean, he didn't do it. Why is he asking him what he would do?
And if I may approach her up.
You may.
Oh, it's not there. Okay. Now, in your investigation and brief, your statements were that you were there basically to assist Mr. Herring, and other people did the rest of the investigation, correct?
I would say the rest of the investigation, they assisted where they could.
Excuse me?
I wouldn't say the rest of the investigation, but they assisted where they could. The
Okay.
other officers did.
Did you ever make it back to the scene to investigate the vehicles?
What do you mean back to the scene?
To the scene? Well, you never left the scene. Did
Yeah,
you ever go back and start investigating, looking in both vehicles?
No, that's at that point it was turned over to our detectives and the CSI personnel.
So, after basically assisting Mr. Herring and making sure he got into the ambulance and he was alive, you kind of would step back and let the other team go in there and do their investigation, right?
Oh, yes, sir. We turned it over to our detectives at that point.
And those detectives were the ones you mentioned earlier, correct?
Detective Hayward was the one that came out to the scene, yes.
Okay, but there was a Sergeant Maynard or
Marion?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was a Hollis Amos or Holloman
Holloway and Amos are two
Holloway,
different officers.
and anyone else.
None that I can recall.
So why don't you call those people as your witnesses?
Thank you, and redirect, Chief Assistant Smith.
Very briefly, you were asked if you had any concerns about the defendant fleeing. Would you agree that she was detained shortly after you and the other officers arrived?
Yes.
And at the time that you are first getting there, did you have the benefit of having listened to any of the 911 calls that had been placed in this case?
No.
So did you have any idea what any of the background was as far as the earlier accident and what dispatch had been saying? Did you have any of that knowledge when you're getting on scene?
No, ma'am.
And you were asked if the defendant hindered any medical attention after you arrived. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you ever see her provide any?
I did not.
Mm-hmm. And there you go.
And at that point when you arrived, was there any opportunity to provide any kind of medical assistance?
From the time that we were flagged down to the time that I arrived, there was time.
Okay. And then you said she shortly was taken and detained, correct?
As soon as my sergeant came up, he was on foot and I was in a vehicle. So once he arrived on the scene, she was detained.
And when she was detained, there's no way she could give any assistance, correct?
Right.
She wasn't going to try to anyhow.
did you eventually go back and find out more about this incident?
Since when?
From when you stated that was kind of you didn't know about the 911 calls, you didn't know about the previous accident. Did you ever go back to look into that and find out what happened?
Yes, I talked to Detective Hayward shortly after the incident.
So you were able to hear that there was a accident with the red truck leading that accident, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a 911 tape that actually caught what was going on through the commentary of a correctional officer, correct?
I'm not sure about a correctional officer.
Mr. Turner.
I'm not sure.
So you don't know the names, but you did hear somebody on the phone with 911 as the red Dakota drove off.
I'm not sure about what happened in that first wreck.
So your extent of the investigation to go back and find out what happened previous accident was kind of limited?
Yes, sir.
Curiosity, you ever wanted to know what happened at the first
Oh my
incident?
God.
Not really.
Curiosity. He has so much to
Further
do.
from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Will this witness be excused?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So he needs to live, yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're excused, Sergeant. Have a good
He's probably going, thank God. Poor man. Thank you for your service.
Does the state intend to call any other witnesses this
Not
end?
to call any other witnesses today, but maybe approach to just determine the court's preference about the next steps.
Yes, certainly.
That was the first time I saw her look back kind of towards her family. It's sad. I wish she'd made a different choice. She really messed up. It is sad, but I don't know what she was thinking. I couldn't chase after. No. I can't imagine me chasing after anyone. I guess unless they had hurt my family or something. Even then, that's not doing anyone any good. You can see the stress on the mom.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to recess for the evening. I know it has been a long week, and the good news is that you get to go home now. The good news also is that we'll return Monday morning at 9. The state has other witnesses or that it will call on Monday, and so my previous instructions, and I'll just reiterate because there are a couple that I have to emphasize. Again, do not do any. Is there any?
Okay, so I had cut this off as she started giving instructions to the jury because I figured y'all didn't necessarily need or want to hear that. But then, good thing I listened because it looks like she's going to give some instructions to Hannah, I guess, in case she wishes to testify when the time comes. So let's listen to that.
Anything further that we need to address counsels before I adjourn for the evening?
I wasn't sure if you were going to read the thing that judges read to defendants while they're having to make a decision about testifying. Not for her to provide any answer today, just to have the information to think about it for the evening.
Okay. That's your choice.
I don't mind the instructions being done as long as there's no implication or any kind of pressure to make an answer to that is you have to wait for the state concludes that test.
Okay, so this is just my informing the defendant of her rights at this point. There's no pressure to make a decision this evening. Certainly you can communicate to the court whatever decision you've made once the state has closed its evidence. So, Ms. Payne, do you understand that you have a right to testify, and if you want to testify, then no one can prevent you from doing so? Do you understand that no one can make or compel you to testify? That is, do you understand that you have a right to not testify if you do not want to? Do you understand that your lawyer, do you understand that not your lawyer and that you personally are the one who decides whether or not you will testify?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you do not testify, then upon proper request by you, the court will instruct the jury that your decision cannot be used against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand if you choose to testify, you will be both examined by your counsel and cross-examined by either A.D. Hunter or Chief Assistants?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that you need any additional time to think about whether or not you want to testify or not? But I did say that you're allowed to do that. You can communicate to the court on Monday what your decision is. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is there anything?
And that would be after the close of the state's.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anything further?
Nothing further from the state, Judge.
Nothing from the judge.
Okay, thank you all very much. I know it has been a long week for everybody. Do get some rest, and we'll report back on Monday at 9:30. Thank you all.
Okay, seekers, that is the conclusion of day 3 of the Hannah Payne trial, at least per Law and Crime. I know it could be different on other networks, but I did get through day 3. Day 4, I'm not sure. I might have to break it up in 2 parts, but what I might do is go ahead and make them and put one right after the other. It'll be interesting to see. I've never uploaded something this long. It's 3.5 hours? I think I've gone 2.5, and that takes a while. So hopefully it's not going to take a week for that to happen. I doubt it. But it's definitely been interesting. I mean, it's a very sad case. So sad. So and so unnecessary. But I can't help but enjoy poking at Attorney Tucker because he is just a hot mess. He's, again, ill-prepared. I mean, it's, like I said, I think he attended the Attorney Academy for Clowns. That's the only thing I can figure out. But we'll see. Perhaps he'll improve as time passes. Probably not. But I hope you all enjoyed watching this trial. Thank you so much for supporting me, subscribing, commenting. Don't forget, be kind to one another. Be kind to you. I love you and appreciate you all so much. And I'll see you the next time.